Welcome to America's Day of the Races. Good to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon long weekend. Our program brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Greg Wolf alongside New York Racing Association handicapper Andy Serling, and the Kentucky Derby Trail rolls through Sunland Park today. Oaks Derby preps coming up. We'll have them for you a little later on.
Yeah, we saw a huge race yesterday, but we're going to have some points being given out today as well. And we're at that time of the year when pretty much most weekends there are going to be races that are going to have a definite effect on the Kentucky Derby as well as Triple Crown races leading up to the first Belmont Stakes being run at Saratoga.
Yeah, incredible. Tickets for that day, unfortunately gone. Some tickets, though, for that week that is sensational are still out there, so get them if you can. Sunland Park Derby, Phil D'Amato is going to be bringing some horses here, and he has Stronghold, who has faced maybe the best 3-year-old out there in Nysos. He was a distant second to that horse sprinting. And then second, beat only a half length, stretching out in that grade 2 Los Al Futurity.
Right, and while Winstock, who beat him, didn't run that well in the Southwest at Oaklawn Park, in this field he has to be considered a contender. And Greg, I think any horse that shows up with Nysos and his PPs is going to draw a lot of attention.
5-2 morning line, likely going to be shorter than that as this son of Ghostsapper makes his 3-year-old debut. Coming up in what will be an 8-horse field, Steve Asmussen brings a horse here as well, but this barn will garner plenty of attention. And the win for this horse, it did come, at least at a route of ground, it came at Churchill Downs in his second start.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the other thing is, if you aren't sort of hip to the fact that Phil D'Amato is a trainer to be reckoned with, then you're just not paying any attention, especially to California racing. Because I know Bob Baffert gets so much attention out there, but it shouldn't come at the cost of paying attention to how well Phil D'Amato's horses run.
Speaking of the winningest trainer in North American history, Steve Asmussen, they'll have Joel Rosario on Informed Patriot. Dam produced Millionaire Spun to Run, who won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Not quite sure this is a horse of that caliber of talent, but we'll find out more. It was just third in the Smarty Jones. That was a horse actually that Spun to Run won back in the day.
You know, in Yawkey Way, the Dam, of course, she ran in New York. So New York, I think she's a New York bred, which is kind of offensive because she's named for the street that Fenway Park is on. So not a lot of Yankee fans rooted for her, but Informed Patriot's pretty good. And also, you know, Catching Freedom ran a respectable race, finishing third in yesterday's Risen Star. So that race is legitimate, and I think that horse has to be reckoned with. They look like the major, too.
All right, we'll have that coming up later in the program. The Oaks precedes it, and points on the line. Both these races to get into that starting gate for that first Friday and Saturday in May. Take a look at what's ahead on the program, presented by Claiborne Farm. Fast in New York. In fact, we're fast everywhere. Oaklawn and Sunland as well. Start of the cross-country Pick 5 coming up in that 7th at Aqueduct. Feature at Oaklawn. The 8th will get to Pola Duca out in Hot Springs a little bit later on, and the Oaks and Derby from Sunland. Those points on the line coming up later in the program. You can play it all by getting signed up, started with NYRA Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. The offer for new customers, there it is, that $200 deposit match new customer bonus. To take advantage, punch in that code, match 200 and sign up. Again, at NYRABets.com, and you're ready to go. Let's check in at Oaklawn for their 4th 3 minutes to post. $12,000 maiden claiming race, all for sale for that price. Up to $20,000 actually in here. And a 2-turn mile coming up in this spot. Favorites the 5, Sausalito Verde. Let's head live to Hot Springs, check in with Pola Duca.
Good Sunday afternoon to you, Greg, and Andy as well. As if you're looking at that graphic and you're wondering why the 1 missed double is scratched, that was just a late scratch announced by track announcer Matt Dinnerman about 5 to 6 minutes ago. This horse and rider just was a scratch. Ricardo Santana was aboard. So 1 less here in some fillies in here. And this is an interesting condition when you look at this condition. Arkansas breds in here are in for maiden $20,000 tag, but if you're not an Arkansas bred, you're in for a $12,500 tag. Now, Domina, it just shows you a horse that's 9-2 on the line right now, or at least on the board, off a 10 buyer. But it's, you know, the Asmussens, so I think this horse is taking a little money because of that. I think the 4 is a dangerous sort. You know, Tom Swearington goes to Chelsea Bailey on almost all of his horses, and he calls Christian Torres here, and that's nothing against Chelsea, because I think Chelsea can flat out ride, but you're going to a guy that is on a roll right now with Christian Torres. Sausalito Verde is the filly to beat in here by far. I know she's 0 for 8, but her numbers tower over this field. I think somebody in here is going to have to run better. Then you have a string of long shots in here. You get to the 9, Scandalous, who's just a horse that you don't really know. Coming from the Todd Pletcher barn, debuted on turf, now in the Jonas Gibson barn for Staten Flurry, who's one of the leading owners at this meet, and they've been dropping horses like this for 12-5. So the 9's an unknown. I will say this, though. The 11 in here, Patty Gal, I could see why Ian Wilkes started this horse out going long on the turf, because she is a tall drink of water. She outlooked the field. I think she might, if you look at her numbers, she might be better going a little bit distance to ground, at least that race at Ellis Park. Cody Rosine takes over the training now. You get Luis Fuentes. I don't love the outside posts. I do think the 5 is the horse to beat in here by far. But I'll tell you what, the 11 outlooked the rest of the other fillies in here.
Paul, thanks. I'm glad he brought that up. I was just going to say the same thing. She just crossed through the screen, the 11, Patty Gal. She is on her toes. She made a great appearance, 5-1 right now, dropping from 20 maiden claiming down to this 12-5 level.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the story, right? You've got that horse. You've got an Asmussen horse that's never run this cheap meet. The 2, Domina, does not look like a real drop down, right? Because she ran for 10 to 15 last time, was claimed. But that was on synthetic. And she's never run this cheaply on dirt. So I think that should be noted, along, obviously, with Sausalito Verde. Same thing. She's never run that cheaply. I guess the one difference is that Sausalito Verde's had some more chances, but she's run faster races. And once again, she's also never been favored in a race. So it's not like Sausalito Verde is losing races she was supposed to win. What?
Massively the one to beat, isn't she?
100%. Oh, no, I totally agree with that. I think the Wise Guy horse in here, I mean, come on. We're ignoring something we've talked about, Greg. We're not talking about Scandalous. Now, obviously, Scandalous is a very odd story, right? This was a homebred for Ramona Bass's stable that ran for Todd Pletcher and didn't take any money and couldn't outrun you and I in a horse suit. They sold this horse, I'm guessing, pretty cheaply, but we've talked about this trainer, Jonah Gibson, and how his horses have been winning at close to a 50% clip, obviously with limited starters. But this is the wild card fuzzy in the race, right?
Getting blinkers, getting Lasix, moving to dirt, moving to the hottest barn there is in maybe the country, certainly in Hot Springs. But yeah, limited starters. He is 50% at the meet right now in Hot Springs, Jonas Gibson.
And this is a name we hadn't really heard of. And you look at the record in 23, 21 for 93. So this is a barn that is winning. Now, this was also a horse that was in a barn that has been known to win a race or two in its day as well, the Todd Pletcher barn. And the fact that the horse took zero money. And what's interesting about this horse, the pedigree says dirt. Now, Todd Pletcher didn't run the horse on dirt. He knows what the pedigree is, so maybe the horse didn't work at all in the dirt. But if you want the fuzzy in here, it is Scandalous by far.
Set to go. $12,000 maiden claiming 2-turn mile here in our first live action of the program. Sunday edition, America's Day at the Races, here on FS2, regional networks across the country. Let's go to Matt Dinnerman for the call.
Verde. Global Risk. 2 back, Red Sunshine. Looks like they're still working with Global Risk to take her spot. Global Risk goes in. Red Sunshine has taken her spot to the outside. We wait on Patty Gal. This race starts and ends at the 16th pole. We're ready to go. And they're off. A bad stumble at the break for Kashmir Baby. After that, she drops to the rear. Cowgirl Camille on the lead today. Global Risk right up to apply the heat. Sausalito Verde on a hold pass by Domina. Down to the inside into the turn. But it is on the lead. Cowgirl Camille getting to the fence. Opens up a length. Global Risk right behind her in second. Domina is third along with Sausalito Verde. Then Patty Gal in the 5th position ahead of Babaz Girl in the pink. She's about 5 or 6 behind, swinging up the back backstretch. A length and a half to Scandalous and Red Sunshine. They're 2 better than Cashmere Baby. And Dr. Woods Miracle the Gray is at the back of the pack. They're down the backstretch. Cowgirl Camille assumes control on the lead with Global Risk. There goes Global Risk to stick the red shadow roll in front. Cowgirl Camille inside trying to stick to her. A length and a half to Domina. She's in a pocket. South Salida Verde racing and passing a couple runners now. She claims second as Global Risk leads the way. Approaching the forward turn run, she's a length in front. South Salida Verde second, Domina third. Cowgirl Camille drops anchor. She's done. Dr. Woods Miracle, the gray, catches the eye. She's making a move as they round the forward turn. Coming back to the lead, South Salida Verde, Global Risk side by side. South Salida Verde cruising up alongside of Global Risk, who needs to fight back, but South Salida Verde appears to be going much better. South Salida Verde putting away Global Risk, and she goes for the women. She goes for home. Switches leads, opens up 3, 4, 5 lengths. South Salida Verde and Manny Esquivel all alone on the lead. In the second spot, Cashmere Baby has run a massive race after missing the break, but no doubt about the winner. South Salida Verde who wins it. Cashmere Baby was second. Dr. Woods Miracle third ahead of Domina.
Favorite, as easy as could be here for a barn that's better than 28% at the meet now. His nephew aboard, who we'll have more on later in the show, Manny Esquivel.
Yeah, and obviously this horse was a FASA winner, as you said before the race, Greg. She overlaid the field. The 9 a little wide early, but did no running whatsoever, and Domina wasn't really a match. Nice stretch out second, though, for Cashmere Baby. One of a couple of Archie breds. I think there were 3 or 4 Archie breds in this race, and that horse running against Open Company clearly wants more ground because
Blew the break, too.
Hadn't run at all sprinting either, and she was full of run at the end. Big gallop out.
Can be important from time to time. 6-5 favorite, dominant here in the 4th at Oaklawn. Prices when we come back. We'll get into live action at Aqueduct as well, including our feature coming up later in the card. What a roll My Main Squeeze is on. Can she make it 3 straight stakes wins for the Mike Maker barn? We'll find out soon. Stay with us. Back with you on our Sunday coverage, America's Day of the Races on FS2, regional networks across the country. And we're brought to you in part where you can play it all. Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Go to nairabets.com to get signed up and started. Our feature later today here at South Ozone Park, New York, the Maddie May for New York bred 3-year-old fillies. And we talked about My Main Squeeze going to break, and she came back in her 3-year-old debut and put in beautiful performance.
Well, I mean, it puts in perspective from a speed figure standpoint. It's not all about speed figures, and different people look at different numbers. She got an 88 buyer in this race. It's 9 points higher than the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, which was run about 2 months earlier than this race. And it's 2 points lower than Tarifa got in winning yesterday's Rachel Alexandra down at Fairgrounds. And she feels like a big player for Brad Cox heading towards Kentucky Oaks. So, I mean, she ran fast enough. And let me just say this to you, Greg. Let's say she runs back to this number or even improves on it. Don't the Connections have to be thinking about running in the Gazelle here on Wood Memorial Day and try to get some points and maybe go to the Kentucky Oaks? Shouldn't they at least investigate that?
Yeah, you just got to start dreaming a little bigger if that's the case with the way she's been running. Now, first things first, can't you do it again? Got to like the fact she's drawn outside today, don't you?
Yeah, I think the outside post helps her. And listen, Bernie Takes Charge didn't lose to her by that much and a big step forward for her. Now, sometimes you say, well, they both stepped forward. Did they really run that fast? Well, they beat the rest of the field by over 10 lengths, and I don't think Bernie Takes Charge should be completely ignored in that race. I'm going to try to beat her, but the fact is she got a very big figure last time.
Race 6 will kick off on pick 4. That includes that Maddie May. It's a one-turn mile, New York breds, 40 maiden claiming race, and this one right here, part of an odds-on entry. And that's the man who will ride, Manny Franco, on Judge Rules for the Christophe Clement barn. Much the horse to beat, dropped in from state bred maiden special to maiden claiming last time out. Unable to get the job done, though, as a short price is the favorite, beat a half length.
Did get a 61 buyer. I'm not sure it's as good as that effort, but even if the number's 55, he stands on top of the horse he runs here, and he's got his entry made as well, Eric from Miami, who has run his best races on turf, but in this field, he might be considered at least third or fourth best of the other ones. I'm going to try to beat Judge Rules. I know that you think he's a much more likely winner than I do. Not that I disagree. He's the right favorite. But I think the 3, Iriman, and maybe that's, because of my, now I'm sort of part Jamaican after the trip down there. But also Manny Penny, the number 9. Both those horses were wide against a gold rail in their last starts.
So Iriman, 12-1, actually inherits the rail for Charlie Baker. And here's a look at this now third-time starter who did drop in class last time out.
And finally gets a fast track as well. Now, that doesn't guarantee the horse is going to run well just because he's had 2 sloppy seal tracks. But I don't mind that. I thought this horse was down right in the rail in his debut, which wasn't the place to be, and then caught wide last time against a gold rail. So for my money, he's been against the track 2 times in a row, and he still ran buyer figures in the 40s. So it's not as though he's not a contender in here, and he's an awfully big price. I'm not sure why he's a bigger price than Neptune Beach.
Neptune Beach, the 6, another one who's going to get on a fast track for the first time here. Career start number 3, debuted for Linda Rice, claimed by Rudy Rodriguez, actually jumped the horse up in class, and that did not work out well. So back to a more realistic spot here as we take a look at the 8. And that was Air Force Cross. That's the only first-time starter in this field.
Is he taking Brad Cox money? That sort of Brad's horses have to take money. I looked some stats up. First-time starters in maiden claimers and dirt routes, 18 for $92, $44 ROI, 1 for 7 at Naira.
Judge Rules went by the other half of the entry here, Eric from Miami.
He looks better than he is unless you take his turf races out. His dirt race is not good.
Iriman for Charlie Baker.
As I said, been against the track. He's my choice.
Triple word score, 43-1 long shot.
Scrabble players are not loading up on this horse or not really paying attention and betting. They're going to be sorry if he wins and pays $100.
Arco Augusta gets Lasix.
I mean, this horse isn't completely impossible, right? His buyer figure of 50 going a mile 3 back is fast enough to compete.
Neptune Beach. Rafael Hernandez aboard.
His first race, the 56 buyer, makes him a player. I don't trust that race. I think the figure was too high.
Mike Maker Barn with Mama's Dream, Jose Lezcano.
I thought she improved at least a lot last time, but she was down on the rail, the best place to be.
Here's the lone first-time starter in the field for Brad Cox.
I don't like first-timers going long. Think it's taking Brad money, but Salamini has been a terrific first-year sire.
And 13-1 outside, Manny Penny Ruben Silvera for Mary Alice Coffey.
Not Connection is going to draw a lot of attention, but this horse ran okay last time out and is way too big a price given the effort he put in last time.
3 minutes to post. Race that kicks off this Sunday. Late pick 4 as the entry remains 4-5 on the board. Let's bring in for the first time today, Richard Migliori.
Thanks, Greg. And listen, the one horse Judge Rules comes off a really nice effort, and he looks terrific. When I look at horses that are short prices, and obviously he's an entry, so he's probably going to be a shorter price than they should. You're looking for some sort of a weakness, something that maybe you think, maybe this horse won't run that well. I don't see anything. I can't say anything negative. I'm not going to pick in a maiden claiming race a horse that's going off that shorter price, but he looks terrific. No knocks there for sure. The 3-horse, Irie Man, really nice impression in the paddock. This horse came in with a big energy level. Liked what I saw from him as well. Charlie Baker, a little bit of a slow meeting for him, but he's a good horseman, and sometimes just the things don't go your way. But he's a guy that's so capable. The 5-horse, Arco Augusta, is ultimately going to be my top choice. And this is a horse moving up from $25,000 company. His best race came at a mile, albeit on an off racetrack. But he's getting Lasix for the first time, and I could not get past how good this horse looked in the paddock. His coat is absolutely rich, hydrated, resplendent. I just think he, at a big price, is interesting, and I'm going to pick him and see if we can get him home. The 8-horse, first-time starter from Brad Cox, Air Force Cross. I always like to look at horses' work tabs. This horse, you can go back to November, has not missed a beat. November to today, every 6-7 days, he's worked like clockwork. That bodes well for him to get a mile first time, and it just speaks of a horse's overall good health. And then the 7-horse, Mama's Dream, looks terrific. Buck Butler, the breeder. This horse is out of Mama Teresa. Mama Teresa's the grand dam of your favorite later on in the Mattie May Stakes. Just a really nice family by Freud. Horse looked terrific in the paddock. JK, I think you had a little interest in the 7.
Yeah, I'm going to lay in on Mama's Dream in here. Just for a couple of reasons. One, I think if you look at the debut, the horse didn't run well at all, but did take some money. It was a small field, but if you're 2-1 in any field, there's a reason for that, especially with first-time starters. It's got to be the word's out the horse can run. The trainer likes the horse a little bit. The horse has been working well. There's usually some sort of a story. Now, the horse didn't run very well at all, then comes back sprinting off of a little bit of a short break, doesn't run well at all, then gets an opportunity again to run kind of with the friends, maiden 40, and then finally kind of earned a figure that made a little bit more sense to why this horse was bet on debut. Now you get to try to do something completely different and go a little bit further in the mile with the friends. I'm just hoping that horse that they thought should have been 2-1 shows up here trying something new for the first time. It happens to be 16-1. Wolfie?
All right, JK, see how it plays out here. 16-1, Mama's Dream. Pretty good connections to get that kind of price.
Yeah, listen, second off a layoff, big price. Threw him in protectively with my prices because I think the favorite is extremely vulnerable here. The problem with that horse in this race is there are 3 horses coming out of that race: the 3, the 7, and the 9. The 7 was on the rail. The rail was an enormous advantage that day. The 9 and 3 were both very wide the whole way. So from that perspective, the 9 and 3, and by the way, I believe they both finished in front of this. Actually, the 9 finished in front and the 3 finished behind, length and a half behind. But I think they both ran better races. So for my money, there's just 2 horses, one of them at a bigger price and one at a relatively similar price that just ran better races. But listen, second on the layoff, who knows? Big price. I'm not going to knock it.
Entry,
I don't want it.
odds on, Judge Rules, the main reason for that. Out of a Dam, who's a Grade 1 winner. A Tappet, 3-year-old.
Well, the half to the Dam won the 4th race. Sorry. Princess Violet's half-sister won a pretty slow maiden race, but won one nonetheless, going 1 mile and 1/8.
Now down to 3-5. Pick 4 on the Sunday card from Aqueduct begins here. Let's go to Chris Griffin for the call.
Miami. And Manny Penny. Is in. All set. And they're off. Mama's Dream flew out of the gate. Mama's Dream right towards the front. Also with early speed is Arco Augusta is now going to join this leader, but Mama's Dream broke very well and is now up by a quick length. Arco Augusta is very comfortable now, is going to settle into that second position. Here comes Judge Rules and also Eric from Miami. They're third and fourth as they hook up with the backstretch. And there's Manny Penny up on the far outside, very far out there, is going to track now in the sixth position. Further back in the field, that's Neptune Beach, and Neptune Beach is in front of Irie Man. Then Air Force Cross is towards the back with Triple Word Score. On the front end, just gliding away early, it's Mama's Dream. Mama's Dream has got the lead, is up by 5. Mama's Dream secures the front, and Eric from Miami is in pursuit here from second. Arco Augusta is now in third. Then comes the run from Judge Rules. It's Manny Penny out wider in fifth. At the rail, Neptune Beach is making up some ground. Air Force Cross and Dylan Davis now weaving in between rivals. Irie Man is towards the back end of the field, and far back, Triple Word Score. 48-4 for the half-mile time, and Mama's Dream has the lead, but in pursuit is Eric from Miami and Judge Rules. They're second and third, under a drive and getting close to the leader. Mama's Dream is 16-1, has the 3-5 entry chasing, and Mama's Dream is still strong at the top of the stretch. It's Mama's Dream who's kicked away. Mama's Dream has the lead. Now here comes Eric from Miami and Judge Rules. They continue to chase this leader who's still holding him off. It is still on the front end, a furlong left to go, Mama's Dream, but Eric from Miami starts to get closer now. Here's Eric from Miami to push on by. Mama's Dream is game, but has been passed. Eric from Miami gets the job done. Mama's Dream, the big number, runs second. Then Judge Rules, Manny Penny, followed by Neptune Beach, and Irie Man in 1 minute 42 and 1.
Chalk players saved by the other half of the entry. Eric from Miami able to corral Mama's Dream, who shot to the front, tried to go gate to wire.
Well, there's two ways to look at it. If you're somebody who actually liked Eric from Miami, you're furious because you got 3-5 on a 3-1 shot or 7-2 shot. If you like the other horse, you got bailed out by the entry. It's time for them to get rid of entries. It's ridiculous that in 2024 people aren't allowed to bet the horse they want. They tried to get the 7 home here. This was a different horse than we've seen before. Broke like a shot, established a lead, got the right ride, an aggressive ride from Jose Lezcano, just hit the wall in the late stages. Frankly, 24-1 is a little bit quick for these horses, so ran okay, but just not able to hold on, and the wrong half of the entry catches you.
Kendrick Carmouche in the familiar silks of Barry Schwartz, Horacio de Paz, and Maiden Breaker, career start number 7 for the first time, dropping in for a tag for Eric from Miami. Mama's Dream. Now, even in defeat here, that was a good call. This horse ran big.
She did. She ran well.
JK liked this one, 16-1, and still able to create value underneath if you use this entry in Mama's Dream. Underneath in exactas, get a little creative. We're going to take a time out. We're going to look at the Derby Trail from Saturday. Chad Brown, surefire Hall of Famer, missing on that resume a Kentucky Derby win. Is this the horse that could bring it to him? We'll look back at Sierra Leone from Saturday when we return.
Standing at Claiborne Farm.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
Charlatan is back, and he turns it on with 1/8 of a mile to go. Express Train moves into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Back on our Sunday coverage, America's Day at the Races. It's brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Back in New York, Eric from Miami, part of a 3-5 favored entry. It was the other half of the entry that was more highly regarded, but this is the half that saves the day. Trained by Horacio De Paz, owned by Barry Schwartz.
Those numbers are inaccurate. The two have not part of the entry. So the 1A and the 1 paid $340. Mama's Dream made 80 to place, and $13.50 for the exacta. Eric from Miami bails out people, but we got to get rid of entries. We're trying, but it needs to change. It's just a terrible rule.
Let's move on to race 7. It's a $20,000 claiming one-turn mile, where we have a 9-year-old in Keystone Field who not that long ago was facing Graded Stakes Company, and then Daddy Knows was running some lights-out races 3-4 starts ago.
And what benefits Daddy Knows is he draws towards the outside. He's a horse that cannot race inside of horses and likes to drift badly. He's a bad-acting horse, but when he's good, he's much better than these. I'm just starting to wonder, he's 8 years old now, if he's kind of past his best days. But wasn't that long ago he was running fast races, and if he runs anywhere close to them, he'll win here.
If it's not one of those two, does this seem very wide open?
I'm going to fool around with the inside two runners in here. I thought both of them were a little bit interested in their prices. And we've got that $2,500 hit and split with the late pick 3, both here and at Oaklawn Park. So I want to get involved in that, and I'll opt in over at Naira Bets as soon as I can get my phone.
Yeah, make sure you do that. Hit this late pick 3 at Aqueduct and at Oaklawn. There's an extra $2,500 pool at each track that you're going to be sharing. Let's look back to the Triple Crown Trail Saturday Fairgrounds, late into the night on a wet track. And Sierra Leone, Chad Brown had been experimenting with this horse a little bit, trying some different bits and blinkers. I think he got what he wanted with this horse.
And he got a great ride from Tyler Gaffalione. And one thing that was good was he got position. He wasn't that far back. Now, it was a dawdling pace set by, I say dawdling, I don't think it was that slow a pace in relative terms, but it wasn't fast. And Track Phantom, who's been terrific, ran well to be second, but Tyler got the position. He saved ground. He angled out sweetly, and Sierra Leone came charging down the track. This horse is, right now, I think he's favored in that Derby pool. Now, I think anybody taking 5-1 on any horse right now for the Kentucky Derby is out of their minds, but he's probably, with Fierceness running as badly as he did, and with Nisos not being able to run, I can understand why he's on the top of people's lists. The question is what price you think is fair. I think 5-1 is silly.
The 3-year-old debut from him, it looks like he's going to take that same path Zandon took, potentially go to the Bluegrass at Keeneland. Tyler Gaffalione just said when he asked from this horse, the horse just took off.
No, he was very impressive in this race. And, Zandon, I think, was 3rd last year. Now, it was a slow pace last year, wasn't able to overcome. And at the end of the day, he's going to have to probably be a little better than Zandon if he's going to win the Kentucky Derby. But right now, Chad Brown may have his strongest hand. And he had another horse yesterday who broke his maiden. Now, he's probably not a Derby horse. Maybe some Derbies, just not the Kentucky one. But he's got a very good horse, the one down in Florida as well, a horse who had worked favorably at one point in the past with Sierra Leone.
This sport, maybe even more than traditional sports where you cannot buy championships, but $2.3 million horse who is looking like he was worth every penny.
Yeah. On the other hand, Hall of Fame, he was the big disappointment coming out of the Risen Star. Now, you don't want to make too much. They ran the race in the middle of the night. It seemed like it was only 7:30 our time. Excuse me, but he cost $1.4 million, and he was coming off a brilliant performance when he broke his maiden at Lecomte. He didn't run a step in this race. You can't write him off out of one bad race, a gun runner as well. But just because you spend a lot of money doesn't mean they turn to be good, but they certainly spent for Sierra Leone.
Late into the night, wet track, 3-year-old debut from Sierra Leone. Impressive. Jonathan Kinchen, what do you make of the performance?
Look, I thought it was pretty impressive. Whether, like Andy said, I want to say it was the slowest pace in the history of races, but it definitely wasn't a fast pace. And the fact that Sierra Leone came from out of it to close into that pace, I think is definitely something that you want to take into your consideration when you're evaluating that race moving forward. The other thing is that catching a horse like Track Phantom is also kind of a nice sign. It's not like you got some 40-1 shot, first-time stretch-out horse who went out to the front end and went 24-49 and then came back to you. This is a real horse, a horse that was undefeated around 2 terms, turns, trained by a Hall of Famer in Steve Asmussen. So I think that what Sierra Leone did is actually significantly better than it might appear on paper or just looking at it visually without looking to understand a little bit more what happened. The one thing I'll say when it comes to Kentucky Derby, I mean, look, I want to evaluate this performance. It was really good. But moving forward to the Kentucky Derby, I prefer my Derby horses to be a little bit closer. As close as Sierra Leone was in a pace that we're agreeing that was not the fastest pace, that is a little bit of a concern to me moving forward. Look, a horse like that, who you know is going to want the added ground, who ran the way that he did, he's definitely cemented himself in what I'd say the top 2, top 3 in the conversation for Derby favoritism.
So because Jonathan didn't have Mind That Bird or Rich Strike, who came from way out of it.
Yeah, I hear what Jonathan's saying. I don't agree because of the way he ran yesterday. I mean, the fact that he showed that he could put himself in position, and if he's farther back in the Derby, it's probably because they're going too fast up front. And if Bass isn't that fast, he could put himself in position. I hear what he's saying in these races, but I don't know. Is the Derby a race that's historically dominated towards the front end? There's a mix and match, right?
Tactically, you like to have horses,
sure.
which I understand that point.
Yes, he's not wrong. It's American dirt racing. You like to have horses with more forward position. And yeah, you could get in trouble with that kind of speed, but we'll see how the race shapes out. There might be plenty of speed in there.
Saw a quick look at that leaderboard with that win. Sierra Leone bolts to the top.
He does, and rightfully so. But there's a lot of racing left to do. First of all, we want them all to get there. We're going to presume that Nisos isn't going to be allowed to run in there. But listen, as you and I were talking about earlier today, what happens if Fierceness bounces back?
Oh, there's still so much that can change. I know we only the beginning of the 50-point races, then we have the 100-point races, so really not that many more opportunities, but a lot's still going to change in that short amount of time.
And we'll find out more about all of these horses. I also want to see Sierra Leone on a dry track. Maybe he's better.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not.
5th race at Oaklawn, start of a pick 5. Now winners a 3 lifetime claiming race, mile and a 16th. Fighter Town taking play, that man right there. Not the typical blazing start we're used to, and he usually dominates at Oaklawn, but Robertino Diodoro starting to get going. You knew that would happen sooner than later. We'll be back with more right after this. Back with you on America's Day at the Races. FS2 coverage continues with coverage from Oaklawn and Aqueduct, 5th at Oaklawn. Start of the late pick 5. Mile and a 16th. We showed you Robertino Diodoro going to break, one of the most successful trainers on the circuit. He's going to send out Jim and Jim, currently the 8-5 favorite. Let's go to Paul LaDuca for more.
Yeah, Greg, Jim and Jim is your favorite right now. And listen, he's a consistent horse. I mean, the only issues that I have with him, he's burned up a lot of money. He's been the favorite in most of his races, and he keeps on running second. He's got a little bit of second-itis, but he usually fires a big shot most of the time. If you look at, his PPs, he lost at even money. He lost at 50 cents on the dollar. Now he's been off since November, and he's been at this condition of 75 non-winners of 3 lifetime for a while now, and you have some horses dropping. So do you want to play against, as you got about 2 minutes to get to your Naira Bets account to make a wager as we're going through the post parade. The 5, and here's the other horses they're betting. Fighter Town, 6-1 on the morning line, getting played in the doubles, pick 3s everywhere here for Ingrid Mason, and a horse that does have some back class. This horse was a Godolphin bred horse by Into Mischief. And I get some of the races at Ellis were very good, but the last 2 races, this horse has lost by a total of 62 lengths. I mean, it's really hard to take a horse that's lost by 62 lengths. I understand the drop, but at 9-5, I just thought it was a pass. I mean, he can win, that's fine. I thought Chelsea Dagger was very interesting in here, the 6. Norm McKnight has come in here and fired, and the 10. Because I'll tell you right now, the 10-2 for Norm McKnight is caught in 2 muddy racetracks. His horses have fired on the dry racetracks. They haven't fired on muddy racetracks. And, Chelsea Dagger got left in the gate with Carlos Barbosa, gets more weight off today. And this horse actually excelled a little bit better going long on turf and long on synthetic at Woodbine. So I'll go with the 6 here at a little bit of a price. And to get back to what you said, Andy, about the 3-year-old division, you make a good point by Sierra Leone. Let's see how that horse runs on a dry racetrack. Also, Catching Freedom ran well, who was 3rd in the Risen Star, ran here. Mystic Dan over a wet racetrack. Door Knock, who came back on Sierra Leone on a wet racetrack. So we can't jump to conclusions, so all these horses start running on some dry racetracks.
It's a great point by Paulie. It's amazing when the number of preps. Oakland's had rain at all their big races. We had it for the Remsen, right? They had it at Fairgrounds yesterday. So Paulie's absolutely right. It's not just Sierra Leone. And it's possible that, Mystic Dan, doesn't it feel very possible? He rode
Southwest
a gold rail.
winner. Yeah.
Right, a gold rail to his big 101 buyer. But what happens when he comes back and he duplicates it on a dry track? There's so many questions to be answered right now, and I like that. The problem is, with these horses running 2 and 3 times before the Derby, it's hard to really know who they are on the first Saturday of May. And a lot of times you don't know until July or August who they really are, or a better idea. It makes handicapping the race a lot tougher. And these continual wet tracks makes it even harder. So let's keep our fingers crossed the remaining big preps are run on dry tracks.
I'm all for that. As we get set for this 5th here coming up at Oaklawn, 8-5 favorite, Jim and Jim. As Paul said, on the positive side, very consistent, but nature of this condition, nobody wins a lot in a lot of seconds, especially recently for this horse.
I saw the race exactly the same as Paul. I saw that knock on Jim and Jim being the seconds. I see the 5 like he did as clearly a major player in here, but off 2 terrible races in the drop down. Who needs to bet horses like this at 9-5? And I agree with Paulie completely that Chelsea Dagger is the alternative. That was the only race on the dirt. And while the horse didn't seem to run well, probably is a horse that's better going longer and now gets a dry track, but I think more importantly gets to go a little bit longer. And I agree completely with Paulie. And the public sees it the same way as the 6 Chelsea Dagger is the alternative to those 2. And Paulie and I, right or wrong, are in complete agreement on handicapping this race.
Loading in 9-5 favorite, Jim and Jim, Christian Torres for the Diodoro Barn. Matt Dinnerman, the call, start of the pick 5.
Jim and Jim, Aspen Club, and Major Contender all have gone in. Here's the gate cam, folks. That's the 9 Fetches Prom who trotted through the front of the gate. Going to lead him back behind. Crenshaw's got it. Fighter Town going in. They're going to reload Fetches Brom, and Vincencino will be the last one. 8-5 for number 3, Jim and Jim. 2-1 for number 5, Fighter Town. Those are the odds currently. That could change. Remember, the first 2 route races we had today started and ended right where they're at. This race will end at the regular finish line, going 1 1/16 miles this time. Working with Vincencino. We're ready to go. And they're off. Vincencino sent along on the far outside. Fetches Brom 2. Major Contender had to take up when in tight. Tries to move forward on the far outside. Fighter Town in the mix on the lead. In fact, Fighter Town's in front. Fighter Town from the inside strides clear 1.5 lengths. Vincencino takes the second spot. Fetches Brom third, joined by Major Contender. Then comes Red Devil. He's racing with Chelsea Dagger as Fetches Brom joins that pair. That trio's 2.5 ahead of the Gray Aspen Club and Hallow Point. I'm Crenshaw second to last, and Jim and Jim is the trailer up the backstretch. Fighter Town on the lead today on the class drop, leads by about 2. Vincencino striding in the second spot. Major Contender outside of him. They're 1.5 lengths for 2 ahead of Chelsea Dagger, and Red Devil to his inside. Aspen Club, Fetches Brom are next. Fetches Brom, the first one under pressure, already sent along, approaching the 4-turn run. I'm Crenshaw, Hallow Point, Jim and Jim. That trio pretty much together at the back as the 10 runners charge into the turn. Fighter Town went off as the 8-5 favorite, trying to make every pole a winning one here, and right now he looks pretty good. Fighter Town by 2 around the turn. Vincencino's all in. Major Contender outside of him being scrubbed upon. Here comes Chelsea Dagger catching the eye, and Chelsea Dagger's after that leader. Fighter Town who hits the quarter pole. Ricardo Santana took a peek back and sees that Carlos Barboza and Chelsea Dagger are trying to catch him. Fighter Town confidently handled here. Asked to go, opens up 3. Chelsea Dagger in second, Vincencino third, with about 100 yards to go. Fighter Town putting the finishing touches on a victory, and a victory he will receive. Fighter Town much clear. Chelsea Dagger was second, Vincencino third. I'm Crenshaw comes up for 4th.
Fighter Town, Ricardo Santana Jr. saw he needed a little more, asked for it, and he got it.
Yeah, once this horse cleared the front, it obviously was a big advantage. And listen, it's not like any of us are surprised this horse won, but the point that Paulie and I both made was it's kind of horse that short prices on these big drop downs are a little dicey bets. The 6 turned out to be a decent alternative, just finished second. And I'm going to send Matt Dinnerman a story about the famed Chelsea Hotel.
Thank you. Back to New York. Hasn't been to New York, apparently.
No, but he's welcome to come. He's been to Saratoga.
We'll invite him.
He's
7th at Aqueduct. $20,000 claiming race, 1-turn mile coming up in 5-2 favor. One we've talked about already. Daddy Knows, trained by Ray Handel, an 8-time winner, over close to $450,000 in earnings, and just 3 starts ago. This horse was running races in the 90s on the Beyer scale.
Yeah, but what have you done for me lately, world? Now maybe you want to use the horse that just won at Oaklawn as an example, and the horse can get back to it. And I'd say that Daddy Knows at least has that one good figure. He is such a quirky horse. I can't trust him. And, Keystone Field, we're showing now, he really should have won last time out. But in fairness to him, the horse that beat him, a price or not, did come back to beat a better field and improve his Beyer figure 5 points.
That's Centavo. Keystone Field takes a 3-length lead here in the stretch, and you assume, well, you never assume if you played this game, but it looks like the race is over. No, he will get nailed by a 1/2 length as a 4-5 favorite in his second start of his 9-year-old season.
You know what happens when you assume, right?
Great Steven Seagal movie with a line about that.
It's also a great Odd Couple episode from back in the day. This horse did look home free. Beat the field by a lot. He's obviously not the horse he was. I just feel like when Linda Rice dropped down last time, was supposed to win. On the other hand, did you really expect him to be 5-1? And I'm surprised, and I think I have the morning line. I'm surprised he's a bigger price than the 6 Ministerial.
Yeah, he was 5-2 morning line. That price has got to come down on Keystone Field to 5.
I'll have to look at the
Meanwhile,
doubles.
Ministerial the 6 for Wesley Ward. It's 3 for 4 on dirt. Won the last 2 starts. We saw him both on dirt and just seemed to be going in the right direction. Then we haven't seen him since June.
Keystone Field is favored in doubles for what it's worth, heavily favored. Yeah, he's going to probably have to run better than this to win this race. And these are the best kind of numbers he's run, mid to high 70s, whereas Keystone Field and Daddy Knows are sort of running those, and we know they're both capable of running bigger numbers. Wesley Ward's a tough guy to read. I just didn't like this horse, but hey, you never know with Wesley, and maybe both the 5 and 9 can't run, and sort of anyone can win at that point. And I'm hoping those anyone's is the 1 Hold the Flight or the 2 Majestic Frontier.
Oh, that's the worst. We just showed you winning at Belmont. So that was back on June 18th last summer. Off since. See if he can make an impact in his return. Jose Gomez riding for Wesley Ward. Our post-parade starts with Hold the Flight. Trevor McCarthy.
Yeah, I thought Hold the Flight was interesting. Didn't really handle the track last time. Was out in the middle of the track. His race 2 back was good enough to be a contender, and he's a price.
Majestic Frontier. He's been effective forward. He was nowhere near the front last start.
Did no running last time. His race 2 back, though it sort of stands out in an island, was an effort that would make him very tough in here. He's a big price.
Huge long shot who he was just second for 12,000, and he can't be forward.
And he should be the speed in this race with the scratches. This is a rider who, a low percentage rider.
Blue Grotto for Rudy Rodriguez.
This race falls apart. He's a player in here. He's got that 1 put-over win when I was down in Jamaica, and I heard them people screaming about it all the way on Jamaica. But it was a they knew that day.
Keystone Field, the 9-year-old went by. Here's Ministerial off the bench.
We've talked about him. He's just a total wild card in this race.
Critical Threat. Actually ran a big number last time out. Claimed to a new barn now.
Did, but got loose at a sloppy sealed track. That track was sealed, by the way, and now is in a new barn.
42-1. This is Life and Light for Edmund Pringle.
If you have this horse and you hit that pick 3 through Naira Bets, you might get the whole 2,500.
You might. Huge number. Many not using. Daddy Knows. Katie Davis for Ray Handel.
I think the horse to beat. The doubles have him the second choice. It'll be interesting to see the odds we get to post. And he draws well towards the outside.
Yeah, Pit Boss 2 back. Big effort against 12-5. Then hiked up off the claim on a wet track. Did not run nearly as well.
And if that race 2 back happens, he can win. If you can figure out David Jacobson, you are a smarter man than me.
So here's this 9-year-old who, as Andy pointed out, by post time likely will be the favorite. Jonathan, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I like this horse in here. You know, you don't love the horses off of Linda Rice, but Rudy's one of those guys. You know, they all kind of trade horses playing the claiming game in New York. I'm not necessarily offended by that idea of this horse being able to run as well or better for Rudy. The other thing I'll add is that last race, they kind of got a nice little figure that day. But what I do recognize within that figure is that there's been 2 horses that have came back and won out of that race. And both of them came back and ran faster speed figures. On Timeform US, 8 points faster for the winner. And then the other horse that ran and came back and won ran 24 points faster. So it makes me feel like there's a possibility that number could have been a little bit higher. So while I am of the old school key race situation, I'm less concerned with them winning, Richie, and what they do with their speed figures moving out of races to identify how good a race was or was not.
Well, absolutely. You know, it's so interesting, the whole handicapping conundrum, right? Obviously, what we see on paper is so important in speed figures. And then, you know, what we see visually, and that's something that I try to blend. If you can blend the two and come up with the right horse, that's the key. We're going to start down on the inside for me. Hold the Flight, horse shipping in from Parks, getting down to the lowest level that he's running a long time. Looks terrific. I really like this horse's energy level. Warmed up terrific. I think a pretty generous 9-1 here. The 5-horse Keystone Field will be my top selection. Comes off that big effort last time. You know, might have moved slightly early and was run down. Centavo, you know, made the last run that day. But he looks terrific. And, you know, off a tough effort, he's carrying good weight, making a nice impression. And then towards the outside, the 9-horse, who is your favorite, Daddy Knows, you know, he could win this on memory, but is it a case of, you know, at 8 years old that Father Time is caught up, or are we going to see the good Daddy Knows? At least he's getting a track that's fast today, not the sloppy track he encountered last time. And the 10 Pit Boss. man, this horse made a nice impression, and he might set a real good trip from the outside, as he has tactical speed, but he's also a horse that's not forced into any one particular style. At least he has that versatility. This is a really interesting race. I wound up on the 5 Keystone Field, but I think there's several ways you can go.
He is, thank you, Mig. Keystone Field, the elder statesman of this group. The 9-year-old, I thought he looked great warming up. Ruben Silvera for Rudy Rodriguez off the claim. Still up there at a bit of a price, 7-2, but again, probably going to be favored by post time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the 5 and 9 are the horses to beat. I'm not going to be surprised if either of them will win. Neither are my cup of tea to bet on top in this race or to pick. I picked the race 1-9-2-5. I know that the winner came back. Obviously, Jonathan, I'm sure, is right. I just don't remember the horse the other horse that improved 24 lengths. I don't know if he'd run when I handicapped this race, which might have been quite a while ago. We'll see. I'm just going to take a shot with the inside 2 horses. I think both of them have enough to recommend at much better prices.
8-1, 18-1 on those inside 2. Hold the Flight, the 1. Majestic Frontier, the 2. Favoritism. So far to this point, it's been all about Daddy Knows, the 9. For trainer Ray Handel. Again, late pick 3 starts here. Chris Griffin, the call.
Daddy Knows moves forward. Keystone Field and Pit Boss. Pit Boss goes in, all set. Pit Boss, fractious, really acting up now. And they're off. Daddy Knows breaks well towards the outside. Ministerial's got speed from in between horses. At the rail is going to be Hold the Flight in the early mix. Out wider there is Pit Boss. As Daddy Knows is in front. It's Daddy Knows with a far outside with Pit Boss. They're going to clear off here 1-2, but they are way out there in the center of the racetrack on the far outside. Ministerial is tracking in third in between horses. Critical Threat. Then in behind them, that's Life and Light. Hold the Flight, and at the rail, progressing forward, that's Majestic Frontier. As Daddy Knows is well off the rail. Got to be the 6th or 7th path as they work up the backstretch. Moving forward, here's Keystone Field is bringing Prince of Joy, and the early trailer is Blue Grotto. 23-3 for the opening quarter mile, and they've cut Daddy Knows, who's going to be 4 wide now in that second grouping, more settled. And at the rail, it's the new leader in Ministerial. Right there is Critical Threat, who's in the 2-path. Pit Boss is in the 3-path. And here's Daddy Knows, who's now ranging back up on the outside. 47.53 for that half-mile time. Here comes a run from Hold the Flight. Is moving to the outside of Majestic Frontier as they chase a battling trio up front. Keystone Field is back there now in 7th, losing ground Life and Light far back to the rest. 3 across the racetrack here as Critical Threat is still in front. It's Critical Threat, Pit Boss in between horses, and Daddy Knows is trying to make up some ground. Hold the Flight has gotten closer, and down at the inside, Majestic Frontier. Any one of the 5 here with a shot. Critical Threat is trying to fend them off. Down at the rail, Majestic Frontier. Daddy Knows is now putting a nose in front, and here comes the run from Majestic Frontier, and Hold the Flight's trying to catch them all. It's Majestic Frontier down to the inside. Daddy Knows. Hold the Flight, though, on the grandstand side. Now down to these 2. Majestic Frontier. Hold the Flight. Majestic Frontier. Hold the Flight. Photo finish. Photo finish between Majestic Frontier and Hold the Flight. It's a tight photo. Daddy Knows finished third in 1 minute 41 seconds flat. It's a photo.
19-1 shot trying to pull this out, but it looks like Hold the Flight may have nailed him late. Very close.
Well, this is one photo, Greg, I won't be sweating out. As I said, I was going to use both of these horses, and I did. The 2 saving all the ground. Both of them worked out very good trips, and they're coming to the wire, and it does feel like on the outside the 1 got up. And starting to pick 3, I think got a little better off the 19-1 shot, no question, but I got a little exacted, Greg.
Nice call. You like both these 2. 19-1, 8-1. Does look like outside. We will wait for the photo. And, early on in this race, you talked about it before, Daddy Knows, not an easy horse to handle, and it showed.
Katie rides this horse to perfection. She just stays out in the middle of the track. I mean, if anybody wants to see a race of his, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, there's a race where he drew an inside post. I think it's the March 25th race here last year, where this horse just had an absolutely impossible trip. And because he just won't run inside of horses, and I think Reynolds found that this is a horse that Katie rides particularly well, and he ran well. He just wasn't quite good enough. And remember something, this pace was kind of falling apart. So both the 1 and 2 were able to take advantage of the fact that the horse were battling a bit up front.
And it is the 1, as you see, posted as your winner, 1-2-9-7, 8-1 on your winner. Hold the flight. Nice handicapping, Andy Serling. You like both these too. 7th goes to an 8-1 shot. Well, the price is when we come back. When we return, Manny Esquivel came into today. 19 wins, 3rd in the standings, over $1.6 million in earnings already at the meet at Oaklawn.
Liam's Map, a 2-time Grade 1 winner with 6 consecutive triple-digit buyers, including a 114 to win the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He's already taking the lead as a sire with Grade 1 winners Basin, Wicked Whisper, Colonel Liam, and Juju's Map, plus multiple 6-figure yearling sales and 2-year-old sales up to $1.2 million. Proven on the track, proven in the sales ring. Liam's Map, only at Lane's End.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back with you on our FS2 coverage, America's Day at the Races. Sunday card from Aqueduct and Hot Springs, Arkansas at Oaklawn. As we move into the 7th race. Hold the flight. Andy Serling, like both these two that complete the exacta. 8-1 over 19-1 with Hold the Flight, Majestic Frontier.
Listen, I do this a lot, and usually you don't win. You don't have to win too often to be right. It was just a case where the 5 and 9, no argument, were the 2 most logical horses in here, but both of them were getting a little suspect. And as it turned out, it worked out. They also worked out very good trips and got extremely good rides. I mean, the truth is, Daddy Knows probably ran the best race of anybody in there and finishing 3rd.
Yeah, just as you saw, tough horse to ride, way out in the middle of the racetrack. Katie Davis trying to keep him happy. Winds up 3rd. Hold the Flight, $19.20 for the victory. 1-2-9, and an upset here to start this late pick 3 at Aqueduct.
I'm live.
Feature next, Maddie May. 3-year-old fillies going a 1-turn mile. My Main Squeeze we talked about much earlier on in the program, trying to make it now 3 straight stakes wins for trainer Mike Maker.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see what this filly is able to do here. And we were talking about it a bit earlier, because based on speed figures, she's in the conversation with the best 3-year-old fillies in the country at this point. And this race comes up at 100,000. And let's be fair to Bernie Takes Charge, who ran that big number 2. I think a big performance by either or both of these horses, and their trainers have to think, you know what, the Gazelle's coming up, 100 points to Kentucky Oaks. May not get too many chances to get a horse like this, and the connections as well. You got to dream big at this time of the year, and if it doesn't work out, there are plenty of races going forward down the road.
See what happens today, and they may start dreaming bigger, whoever does come out on top. Back to Oaklawn. Race 6. $100,000 maiden claiming mile and a 16th race coming up in this spot. And Tiz Charming, right now 5-2, second choice on the board. I want to tell you more about that rider right now. Jockey Manny Esquivel announced his presence in the States almost immediately after winning his first race back in 2013. Later that year, he'd become the first apprentice in more than 70 years to win a meet title at Arlington. Now that he has settled into Oaklawn Park, he has plenty of help looking out for him, including his uncle, who's proud of the rider he's become, but more importantly, the man that he's become.
Emmanuel Esquivel grew up in Mexico before moving to Chicago at the age of 8. He was fortunate to be surrounded by a large family involved in horse racing.
I got a lot of family. I got family all over the place. Funny, I went to walk around with my agent, and everyone we went through, I had a family member working, you know. And he was just laughing, making fun of me that I know more family members than actually trainers there, you know.
That includes Uncle Cipriano Contreras, who trains horses at Oaklawn. The two of them have been winning races together at Hot Springs for the past decade.
Having him on my horses, sure, yeah, makes me happy. And my kids are grown, and he's here. He's like my son. And, having my own kid on my horses, yeah, that makes me happy.
The reins get shaken at her now. She responds, opens up 2.5.
I like his riding style. He makes the lead sometimes, and when he makes the lead, he's got a horse. He always saves a horse for the end.
With about 100 yards to go now, the leader is still Oh My Good to win it.
He's been my mentor, from the start. He's always been there for me. He taught me how to, gallop, walk horses, and everything.
And now entering the winner's circle, number 7, Oh My Good. Trained by Cipriano Contreras. Your winning jockey is Manny Esquivel.
Esquivel continues to focus on becoming a better jockey through hard work and a little help from his family, which now includes his wife and 3 children.
I've been really fortunate, to have a good wife, help me, and I've been all over the place, and it's hard for her and the kids.
He's not cocky. A lot of people like that about him. He's a good family man, I'm very proud of him.
War Campaign has to finish. Speed by is second best, and War Campaign ships into Arkansas and wins the Tinsel Stakes under Manny Esquivel.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Before this, I did this for me. I wanted to be a jockey, but now this is how I support my family, So I try my best to work every day, try to get a new barns, try to ride a good race. It's not easy. You can try, you ride 10 races, you're gonna mess up some of them, It's always try to ride at least a smart race, and hopefully pick up more business.
Take a look at the jockey standings, and he is right up there, 20 wins, actually in 4th right now with what we're up to in today's action. So he is rolling in Hot Springs. Again, over $1.6 million in earnings already. We've got a long way to go at this meet. Paul, what's impressed you about this young rider?
Well, I just think one thing, Greg, that I think a lot of people don't realize about Manny Esquivel is he's always been a very good rider. 14, 15%. His starts, obviously average earnings starts per year has gone up to 11,000 per start, this year, and he's gotten off to a great start. But I want to go back to when Churchill Downs closed down the turf course, and I think that was a huge opportunity for Manny Esquivel because a lot of horse flesh, and let's not forget Chicago racing when Arlington Park went awry. A lot of horsemen and a lot of horses shipped down to Indiana Grand to run on the turf. He's an excellent turf rider as well. But I think what ended up happening is I think a lot of big barns who had to ship down to get the horses to run turf saw this kid's eyes and said, wow, this kid can really ride. He's been a 15% rider in the Midwest his whole career. Now I think that some of the bigger trainers are starting to realize this kid's got soft hands and he can finish with the best of them. And he's the kind of jockey too, Greg, that when you look down at the program and you see where you think your horse is going to sit, he rides a smart race. And as you can tell right there, he's just in a good headspace as being, you know, now I'm riding for my family. That's a whole different mindset when you get to that point in your career.
That's a neat story to have that family connection. This race, he'll be riding for Kenny McPeak coming up. Tis Charming on the 5-2 current favorite. That's the 9 horse. And this 6 from Oaklawn that kicks off the late pick 4. More on this race, including the post-parade, when we come back on our FS2 coverage. You're watching America's Day of the Races on FS2, regional networks across the country. Feature on this Sunday card from Aqueduct. Coming up next, Maddie May, New York bred 3-year-old fillies, 1-turn mile. Which we'll get to. I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's okay. There's plenty to get to.
14 minutes away. There we go. That's Bernie's Take Charge. We had the wrong we had the wrong graphic up. Dominic Schettino, Trevor McCarthy looking to go back-to-back. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, guys, we got a rematch here with the 2 Bernie Take Charge and the 10 My Main Squeeze. I tell you, they both look terrific. They come out a very strong effort in the Franklin Square, going 6.5 furlongs. And Bernie's Take Charge, we'll start with her. I mean, her coat is amazing for this time of year. I mean, it's really credit Dominic Schettino. She's dappled out, could not look any fitter. Gives you the impression that, you know, the mile shouldn't be an issue. She did break her maiden going a mile. You know, I just wonder, though, if she gets, you know, involved with some of the other speeds here. It'd be nice if we could sit just off of them. But she looks absolutely the picture. And My Main Squeeze, who's just been a gem of consistency, really has not done anything wrong. She's well placed outside. And for horses coming off hard efforts, I always look to see, did they draw her up? Did it take something out of them? I'm not seeing that. 2 fillies are coming out of that same race. Both look outstanding here in the paddock.
All right, Mig, thank you. There she is, trying to keep this win streak going, and a win here, as Andy talked about, maybe much bigger things in her sights, potentially. taking a shot on that road to the Kentucky Oaks.
I think the other thing is, and you know, I'm curious if Jonathan has an opinion about that number. I mean, it is a number that's a vast improvement for both Bernie Takes Charge, less so for My Main Squeeze, who didn't run a 78 buyer in her second start. But listen, and young horses will step up. I'm not suggesting the figure's wrong, and they were 10 lengths ahead of the third-place finisher. But it's a number you also want to see repeated. So I think both those connections are thinking, we want our horse to run well, but we also, you know, if they regress and run figures in the low 70s, suddenly they're not as contentious in the bigger races. But this is the time that you can really dream. And for Buff Butler, who bred My Main Squeeze and so many New York breds, to have a chance to have a horse to step out and be in big races, that's quite an opportunity.
Meanwhile, back at Oaklawn, Manny Escobar's mount, wow, really looks sharp, warming up. Tis Charming for Kenny McPeek. Let's get more from Paul LaDuca.
Well, Greg, you took the words right out of my mouth. I guess if we're going to run the feature, we might as well pick the 9. I tell you what, the horse looks tremendous on the racetrack. Talking to Kenny McPeek's assistant, he said he liked both of his runners in here, to be honest with you. He said the one in here has had 2 tough trips and did not like the mud at all. And then I asked him, what do you think about the 9? He goes, I really like the 9. And I tell you what, this horse has really looked well in at least the prelims. He's a big sort. Son of Omaha Beach, and he does have the best last out figure, you know what I mean? He ran a good race last time out. He gets Lasix, and he gets Manny Escobar aboard. I just think he's going to be tough to handle the way he looks, and just his race. The 2 in here, JJ's Rangers, had 3 starts. You know, for Chris Hartman, hasn't really been gotten bet. You know, ran first time out behind Hall of Fame. Obviously, we know what Hall of Fame did yesterday, but we could throw that out maybe on a muddy racetrack. But, you know, is the drop from maiden special weight to $100,000? You know, they paid $100,000 for this horse anyway. Is it really a drop? Because a lot of these horses are just coming out of maiden special weights as well. The 7 in here, Patriot Hills, you know, got blasted last time by Mama's Magic. But sometimes when those horses are, you know, well clear or they get beat by a lot, sometimes those races that are spaced out are very, very key races. So I can see where the people are going on board with the 7. The horse that's taking money is the 8, Brilliant Man, the son of Taylor Verve. Most of the Taylor Verves you always see with Tallis Stewart, but this one where Chris Hartman used to be in the Eric Reed barn, and Rafael Bejarano is aboard. Horse off a layoff, hasn't done much, but, you know, 5-1 getting bet in here, but I just can't get away from the looks of the 9, Tis Charming. And I think the horse got the best last race. So I'm going to go with the favorite here. Not giving you much, guys, with the 9 at 2-1.
All right, Paulie. Favorite with Manny Escobar, Kenny McPeek, and this is going to be the 3-year-old debut for the son of Omaha Beach coming up. But, yes, certainly has looked the part warming up.
No, I think the 2 and 9 are the right 2 horses in this race on handicapping, but the wild card is the number 8, Brilliant Man. You have a trainer switch to Chris Hartman, and I don't care who the horse is coming from. If you're not paying attention to Chris Hartman trainer switches now, and this is also not a private purchase, just a barn change, and goes from Eric Reed, who, of course, trained a fairly well-known horse named Rich Strike. But I don't want to completely ignore a horse switching to his barn and getting back to a dirt track. He's the wild
Chris
card.
Hartman does tremendous at this meet year in, year out. As we look at Patriot Hills for Robertino Diodoro. This horse, that distant second that Paulie brought up to Maximus Magic last time out in his 3-year-old debut, but a horse who can be forward. And we'll see if he can last a little longer today, second start of the year.
Maximus Magic went from the 79 winning buyer to a 44 in his next start.
Matt Dinnerman, the call here is the 6th start of the pick 4 from Oaklawn.
Revelation coming up, post position number 6. Mirage, the outside. We're ready to go. And they're off. Some crowding at the start. Silvertone got the worst of it. The gray Patriot Hills scampers away early to a length lead. Top of the street takes the second spot. Tis Charming third. And the charge into the clubhouse turn. JJ's Ranger running in the 4th position, just ahead of Revelation and Brilliant Man. They're side by side. Silvertone gets off the fences second to last. And Mirage can see them all as they round the clubhouse turn. and do their work onto the backstretch. Patriot Hill is showing the way, a length and a half in front, top of the street, on his tail right behind, keeping things honest. He's 4 clear of his stablemate Tiz Charming, and Brilliant Man to the outside. Another 2 to JJ's Ranger. Revelation racing in the 3rd last position still. Then Silver Tone and Mirage separated by a dozen lengths. The field of 8 with a half-mile left to go. Patriot Hills still in charge, a length and a half. Top of the street's been right behind throughout. Tiz Charming, Brilliant Man, they're side by side as they start to pack up towards the lead. JJ's Ranger racing alone 5th. Brilliant Man loses a spot, now sent along, rejoining Tiz Charming around the turn. Coming back to Silver Tone. Revelation trying to kick it in, is starting to backpedal, is Revelation, and now Revelation is being pulled up here as they come to the top of the stretch. Coming back to the lead, Patriot Hills still in front, top of the street right there, their challenge, and Brilliant Man on the outside. These 3 down the lane together. Brilliant Man grandstand side has the head lead now, top of the street 2nd. Patriot Hills 3rd with a 16th to go. It's Brilliant Man still in front, top of the street chasing on the inside, but it's going to be Brilliant Man to win it. Brilliant Man over top of the street, JJ's Ranger and Patriot Hills, who ran 4th.
Moving to the Chris Hartman barn. Brilliant Man with Rafael Bejarano at 8-1.
Not the first time, it won't be the last time. The horse is switching the Hartman barn run demonstratively better. Now, in fairness to this horse, the prior race, the last dirt race, got a 59 buyer. And while that doesn't make him a layover, it makes him competitive on buyer speed figures with the favorites, and a little improvement for Chris Hartman in a race where, frankly, none of the 2 or 9 barely showed up in here. I mean, the 9 was inside of this horse and just stopped. The 2 made a brief run on the backstretch, had nothing, and the number 1 horse, top of the street, actually ran very well for Ken McPeak. But he was
post parade. Maddie May back in New York. Kara's time went by. Here's Bernie Takes Charge, who gave My Main Squeeze a battle last time out.
And another homebred as well for these connections. Now, they had Galloping Grocer quite a few years ago, but this is also an exciting horse for them.
Baroness Bourbon missed by a nose last start.
Yeah, but would still have to improve, but did improve a lot for that race.
Wesley Ward with Landed, 3-year-old debut.
Has to improve, but does come off a win at a mile.
Kenny McPeak barn, sending out Midnight Concerto.
This horse seized victory from the jaws of defeat last time, and as you know, in his debut, her debut, she had a big gallop out.
Manny Franco on Money Grab at 15-1.
She's my backup. I have tiny backups with her in here. She'd have to improve, but maybe she's going the right direction for a barn I love.
Walk With Me was a debut winner, then went into Stakes Company.
I love David Duggan, too, but if he gets this one home, I tip my hat to her. To him.
It is a huge jump up for Blue Eyed Warrior.
Yeah, an ambitious spot off the claim, but 12.5 for a New York bred that ran a 56 buyer. They'll make money with her.
Rumit at 13-1. Kendrick Carmouche.
Would have to improve for Kerry Briand. Ryan, I didn't like the race this horse came out of first time.
Speed of the field?
Let's see what Time Form US. Nah, they got the 1, 2, and 4. They got this a fast pace.
Odds on My Main Squeeze, trying to make it 3 straight stakes wins in a row.
You and I both like her. Is she really supposed to be 3-5 in this race? Is that a little on the short side?
It is a little, but she was so impressive, and that was off a 2.5-month layoff last time out. Let's get Jonathan's take on the big favorite.
Yeah, look, I'm going down closer to the inside with the 2, Bernie Takes Charge. I do have an Uncle Bernie, but it has nothing to do with the selection here. Uncle Bernie, if you're watching, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Bernie Takes Charge, I thought, ran extremely well last time in the Franklin Square. If you look at those pace figures of that race, ran extremely fast throughout the race, and then finished up well enough. And I do kind of understand the point that that number did kind of jump up. It was a jump-up number. But the one thing I will say is that I'm a little bit more forgiving of jump-up numbers when they happen to be 3-year-olds, because there could be that improvement. I don't think you want to get lazy with that assessment that, they all can just improve. But I think that if you're getting paid 5-1 and you do feel as if the performance as a whole was good, I think sometimes you can err on the side of maybe that was a number that was real. The problem is there's only been one horse that's run back. That horse ran 3rd and basically ran a little bit of a slower figure. Not too much, but just a little bit. Nothing that you need to write home about, but at least something to be concerned about. I'm going to take Bernie Takes Charge from the inside. Has that tactical speed to be able to pop away from there and hold that position. That's where I'm going to land. Richie?
Yeah, I'm right with you, Jonathan. I really like what I've seen from Bernie Takes Charge, the way she looked in the paddock, the way she warmed up. I mean, she's just really extremely well turned out. I mean, she's going to have to work out a trip from the inside, and hopefully she doesn't get caught up, you know, in some sort of a pace stool. But she looks terrific. And from a physical perspective, you really think that a mile should be no issue whatsoever. The 9, Rument, I think is very interesting. You know, this is a horse that trains down at Fair Hill for Kerry Bryan. And I've actually seen videos of her galloping up and down hills and fields. It's a great place for a horse. I like that stamina building work, 3/4 and 13 and change. And she also made a really nice impression on the racetrack. Listen, no false illusions. The 10, My Main Squeeze, is going to be very difficult to beat here. She's a gem of consistency. She's drawn well outside. She's got the right style in a race with plenty of speed. But I don't think a lot separates her and the 2, Bernie Takes Charge, except for their price. So I'm going with the horse with a little bigger price.
Interesting rematch here coming up. You look at My Main Squeeze. That was her first start of her 3-year-old campaign off 2.5 months away. Obviously got by that one. Bernice Takes Charge had more recency. She just seems like she's really going in the right direction. But maybe Bernice Takes Charge will step forward.
I don't have any problem with the idea of taking Bernice Takes Charge at 9-2 versus 3-5 in the 10. I think you're probably getting rewarded more than you should. I don't think they should be that big a difference. Forgetting about price, the 10 has back races to stick to fall back on. Doesn't run the 88. Can still run a 78 or a 75, whereas Bernice Takes Charge, you don't really know. Now, Jonathan seems relatively confident that Bernice Takes Charge can dominate in the front end. I am not convinced that's going to be the case. Eric Cancel has to go with Kara's Time. I have to believe that Gomez, who's been riding very well and very aggressively, is going to go with Landed. Now, if Jonathan's right and the 2 is able to control, that's going to help her chances. I'd be a little concerned, though. It's going to get a little hot and heavy up front, and that's only going to help the 10, who draws so well on the inside. On the outside, excuse me.
3-5, Jose Lezcano for Mike Maker. My Main Squeeze won 3 of her last 5, trying to win her 3rd stake in a row. Maddie May, Sunday feature here from Aqueduct, and the rematch of the 10 My Main Squeeze and the 2 Bernie Takes Charge. They were 1-2 when they met in the Franklin Square. Let's go to Chris Griffin for the call.
Landed steps forward. Blue-Eyed Warrior, Rument, and My Main Squeeze. My Main Squeeze to the outside. All set for the Maddie May. And they're off. Good speed to the inside from Kara's Time is with the early kick, and wider outside, Blue-Eyed Warriors trying to join this early leader. Landed is in front, between horses now, and Landed wants to challenge for that early supremacy as well. They are 3 across the racetrack. Over the far outside, that's going to be My Main Squeeze. It's Landed to the inside of Blue-Eyed Warrior from out of the chute. They're clear 1-2, and My Main Squeeze. Jose Lezcano settled into 3rd. Kara's Time is off the rail. It's in the 4th position. In behind that is Bernie Takes Charge. Bernie Takes Charge is now there with Rument, who's trying to move forward here. Is going to be mid-pack. They're followed by Walk With Me, who's now going to share that position with Money Grab. Far, far back right now, Baroness Bourbon and the trailer, Midnight Concerto. 23-1 for that opening quarter mile. And just loping along here, it's Landed. Landed's got the lead. Mild pressure from Blue-Eyed Warrior. Right to the outside here from 2nd, My Main Squeeze. Now gets encouraged to move forward. The big favorite here is My Main Squeeze. It's launching right now. It's My Main Squeeze coming after Landed. Down at the inside is Money Grab, who's shoved along here, and Kara's Time is back to 4th. Rument is there in 5th. From the back, it's Bernie Takes Charge, who begins a rally, but is far, far back right now. The front 2 are getting away. It's Landed in front. Landed is trying to take them all the way with a quarter mile left to go. My Main Squeeze, the favorite with every chance, right to the outside, is ready to challenge. And now My Main Squeeze is pressed on. Landed is back to 2nd. It is My Main Squeeze trying to open up here in the late stages. My Main Squeeze. Landed is a clear 2nd, 2 lengths back, far, far back to the rest. It's My Main Squeeze inside the final 16th, 3-5, and wins the Maddie May very easily. My Main Squeeze wins it over Landed, then Bernie Takes Charge, and Walk With Me in 1:40.3.
My Main Squeeze, 3 stakes wins in a row, comes and gets Decent effort here from this Wesley Ward filly Landed.
Landed ran very well. They were moving up front, 23-1. Now, in fairness, the horse who won was Best, was stalking outside in a good spot, but still close enough. But Landed ran very well in defeat. But My Main Squeeze, I mean, these times are hard because the track is so slow. I won't be surprised when this figures in the 80s again. And I won't be surprised when Mike Maker and Buff Butler, are thinking, maybe we should be running in the Gazelle and take a shot. I couldn't blame them at all. This is, I hate to say this is a good New York bred. This is a very good racehorse.
And then
happens to
I think, yeah, even though, the time, and it's hard to tell, as you said, but look at the separation. Tells the story.
4 length win and another 6 or so back to the others. This is a very nice horse. I mean, a heavy favorite, but forgetting about that, this is a very nice horse.
10, 4, 2, 7, My Main Squeeze. For Mike Maker, Jose Lezcano having a great weekend.
Yeah, and I'd like to watch again with Bernie Takes Charge because, I mean, Trevor obviously didn't want to be part of that pace and wasn't fast enough to be, but this horse ended up back in 7th or 8th early. Yeah. I don't know if she got in a little bit of trouble and he got shuffled out of there. I mean, she didn't really come close to making a serious run, but I know she wasn't in the position that any of us, including, thought she would be. She might not have been in front, but you couldn't imagine she'd be that far back. And she broke well.
So aside from her debut, which quite often you can say, forgive it, throw it out, and then a sloppy seal track effort in a stake in her first foray in a stakes company, aside from that, she's been perfect. 3 to 5 here, My Main Squeeze. 3 wins in a row, all of them stakes victories. Wait and see what this number comes back, but she impresses again in the Matty May. We'll be back with prices next.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
Your guide to selecting a stallion for your mare. Step 1. Make sure he's won a big, famous race.
Mystic Guide charges away and takes the Dubai World Cup.
Step 2. He'd better be very good looking. Step 3. He must have excited the support of breeders with quality mares. Mystic Guide. He's unmissable. Call Darley.
General admission tickets are on sale now for the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival at Saratoga, June 6th through 9th. Admission is just $10 on Thursday as well as on Sunday for this historic event. Visit BelmontStakes.com/tickets today.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Back on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage, brought to you in part where you can play all the action at Naira Bets. Get signed up at NairaBets.com. Sunday feature in the Matty May. My Main Squeeze impresses again. 3 straight stakes victories. Our winner circle lead-in brought to you by the Fasig-Tipton February digital sale with nearly 140 entries and featuring phase 1 of the Ruiz Racing LLC dispersal. Bidding now open, closes Tuesday, February 20th. Learn more at digital.fasigtipton.com. So this win now in the books. Would you... I mean, we got to wait and see what the number comes back. Do you think the most impressive win of her career to this point?
Well, I mean, at the last race, from a figure standpoint, it was high. To put it in comparison, it was a half a second faster than the 7th race. Those are pretty solid high-level claimers. They put some distance in. I don't think there's any reason that that figure wasn't mid to high 70s, which puts this number in the low to mid 80s. So another big number. And judging by what we're seeing for the 3-year-old fillies, aren't you allowed to dream a little bit? And isn't this what this game is supposed to be about?
And there is no standout in this 3-year-old filly division.
Right. I mean, we just don't know, what's going to happen with the others. And no knocking of just FYI. It was an extremely deserving champion, but numbers are numbers, and nobody has her running so fast. Now, we'll see. She's going to come back. I don't know when she's returning, and maybe she'll take a big step forward as a 3-year-old. She probably will. She's in a pretty good barn. Having said that, she hasn't done it yet, and these horses are running nice numbers. I don't see any reason they shouldn't be thinking Gazelle.
We will talk about one of the leading contenders now after Saturday in this 3-year-old filly division. Ran at the fairgrounds for Brad Cox, but My Main Squeeze, even with what she did, not that far off.
And the really good thing is if she can get in the Kentucky Oaks, it'll give my friend Najee Thompson for the New York Bred Breeders a real reason to be in Kentucky, and I know he wants to go because he's getting married closely after that, and his life will be over.
Make those travel plans now, sir. Let's head downstairs to the winner's circle.
Guys, yeah, I'm so pleased to be joined by Buck and Loretta Butler, and My Main Squeeze has just been a gem of consistency.
Isn't she?
Well, you know what? Let's go there first. This is your namesake, My Main Squeeze.
That's what I've been told. Yes, thank you. I have to say I love this horse. It's been a pleasure to watch this journey that my husband has started and grown into a beautiful passion project with New York Breds. And we've met wonderful people along the way, like yourself, like Mike Maker and Nelson in the barn, but also fallen in love with horses. Oh my God. Main Squeeze and Rodney, my favorites.
Well, it's great, and this is a product of your breeding program, and you've really been highly successful breeding these horses and your brood mares, and obviously starting with Mama Teresa.
Right, Rich. You know, the only thing I do right is I hire the right people, and I've got the right people surrounding me. I want to thank Mike for a tremendous job. And Jose today, this was a wonderful win, but in the 6th race, he rode a horse that we didn't think had a shot, and he did a beautiful job for us. So everybody that has helped us along the way with the breeding, I thank them, and want to thank you and all of NYRA.
Well, listen, thank you for supporting our program and obviously the New York breeding program. My Main Squeeze looks like she's kind of earned the right to take on bigger company. I know your long-term goal was a Black-Eyed Susan, but do you have any kind of idea where you might go next?
Yes, as soon as Mike tells me.
That's the right answer.
Thank you, because that is my answer. And I do have the dreams, but you know what? I have people that make the right decisions. So.
Well, congratulations. Very well done. And always nice to see good people have success.
They're starting to become regulars on our show now, too.
He can come on anytime he wants. There's an old saying from racing that if you want to find out about somebody, give them a good horse. And when you have somebody like that who's clearly got a very good horse here, and he's saying, I'm not smart, it's the people around me that are smart. The only thing I did smart was choose the right people. And those are the kind of people that's extremely easy to root for.
Yeah.
Because, listen, he's the person. He's breeding these horses. He's involved in the game. From our perspective, we love his involvement in the game. But he's thanking the people that work with him, and that's an important thing to always think of.
Yeah, neat story. They're easy to root for, no question. Nightcap, got a quick look at the odds. New York bred 30 maiden claiming 1 turn mile coming up. We'll talk more about this field when we return to close out the action on this Sunday card here in New York. Plenty more coming up from Oaklawn as well. We're going to look back to yesterday's Saturday Stakes in New York when we come back. Alina's Forte, big effort. Phil Bauer, Rigney Racing have a talented 3-year-old filly, and Security Code just keeps getting better and better for Phil Serpy. You're watching America's Day of the Races on FS2. Thanks for being with us on this Sunday afternoon. Feature in the books in New York. Let's look back to Saturday's action at Aqueduct. And Helena's Forte for Phil Bauer, Rigney Racing. The Eric Cancel, he said he did his homework, looked at that stake at Fairgrounds, encountered some traffic trouble there. He said, I just wanted to keep her in the clear, and that's what he did.
Yeah, and it obviously helped getting a post where she was outside the other speeds, but also the key for her was braking as sharply as she did. By braking as sharply, it made it so easy to get that position without asking her at all. I thought a very good performance by both the first and second place finishers, and maybe the post position allowing the four to settle and the fact that she had more experience gave her the edge here. Greg, I think these are two fillies that we're going to hear more from in our big races going further this year. I think the winner got an 84 buyer, which means the runner-up got close to an 80, which means these are horses that, with just a little improvement, are putting themselves in a big conversation heading towards the Victory Ride, Test, Prioress, those kind of big races.
Well, as you said, so sharp out of the gate, Phil Bauer had told Eric Cancel, do not get fooled by her gate speed and get caught up in some sort of pace because she is so sharp out of the gate. He did not let that happen.
He had the right rider for that. Eric definitely is not interested in getting caught up in pace duels, but he's been doing well lately, actually. He's really picked it up and been doing well, and he and his agent, PJ Campo, and always done a good job together. And I think we know that Phil Bauer is a guy that knows how to win a big race, and we were talking yesterday, we're looking forward to seeing Zagera. I wonder if she'll show up maybe, and is it the Azeri, maybe the next prep for the Apple Blossom? Is she coming back that early, or will we see her later in the year? But she could be a player. She's got to get a little faster, but she's close.
Well, that was for 3-year-old fillies. They actually went a little bit faster than the older fillies and mares in the Broadway. Still a good performance from Security Code. And Phil Serpe says, an older horse who just keeps improving little by little. And this was her first stakes win in her 7th try.
How can you not love a horse like this? She shows up every single time. I think in her last 13 starts, she has one race where she ran a somewhat subpar race, and that shows a very good horse, but it also shows a very good training job by Phil and his team, because you got to get them ready to run those races. They throw in clunkers, and she keeps getting better, and I think there's an argument that this is the best race that she's ever run. It's certainly right up there, and she's just such a nice, reliable horse, an easy horse to root for.
Well, Jose Lezcano had her in a perfect spot early on, made sure that he went outside with her to make that run. He said she's much more comfortable when she's outside horses. And you saw the results of that and able to hold off Venti Valentine late for that victory. 5th win of her career. But again, first stakes win in 7 tries. Talented filly who is consistent and keeps rolling along for this barn. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan. She's really good. These are a nice bunch of horses. I don't think that Cannery Love ran badly in defeat. 7's probably stretching it for her, and thought she ran a good race to be 3rd. And Venti Valentine finally had one of her decent races, but she had no excuse. She should have won this race.
Get back to live action. Coming up, 7th at Oaklawn, 6 furlong sprint, $10,000 starter allowance in the next race here. Start of a late pick 3, which means opt-in Naira bets, and that $2,500 pot up for grabs if you are correct in your pick 3. 6-5 favorite is the 6 Royal Megan, the Asmussen barn with his son Keith.
Yeah, this is an ex-David Jacobson horse. That's not horses I like to bet on.
Eyes on Point kicks off the post parade.
I thought the last race was okay, but it was a wet seal track.
Northern Diamond, Tom Van Berg trains.
Just didn't know if this one was good enough.
Never Sway. It's Christian Torres for the Diodoro barn.
I don't think you want to ignore any horses that are moving in the Diodoro barn first time.
Yeah, from the West Coast as well. It was sharp early. That horse going to be quick. The 5, Chasing Shadows. Eduardo Gallardo, rider change.
Yeah, I think this horse just looks a little too slow.
The favorite, short price here, Royal Megan. Steve Asmussen and his son Keith in the irons.
Yeah, I would steer clear of this horse at even money, especially. The record of horses claimed from David Jacobson over time is not good.
Another former West Coast shipper, the speedy Equila for Peter Miller.
The problem is she has speed, but I just don't know how good she really is. Rare to see an Irish bred that's like that, that's a better dirt horse, and she's fast.
And then Dixie Penny outside. Blinkers come off, first off the claim for Scott Becker.
Yeah, claimed at a lower level race. She's got back races to get to, though, that give her a chance.
Formerly with the late Toby Keith's Dreamwalking Farms, who recently just passed away, and everyone, he's still heavily on everyone's minds out there at Oaklawn. 4 minutes to post in this 7th. Let's go back to Paul.
Yeah, he is on our mind still, as you said, Greg. But we get to this race, and, Andy makes a good point with the 7 in here. I mean, there's some heavy scratches in here when it came to the speed standpoint of this race. And I think maybe she's the horse to catch in here, definitely Equilove. But, never say the 3 for Diodoro does have a little bit of speed. But, with Bit of Honey out and the 8 Awesome View, who both had some speed, is there going to be some kind of pace, at least in this race? And that brings me to the 6, Royal Megan, your favorite. When she won at even money for Jacobson had brought about 4 or 5 horses in. He has not brought any in since then, and 3 or 4 of them have won. This horse had gait issues, and you got only now down to a 7-horse field. The 1 and her, the 6, are 2 horses that just sit down in the gate. Now, I could argue the 1's got a better closing kick than the 6, and I kind of like Eyes on Point and Calvin Burrell making an appearance here for Renee Burrell. And when you look at the 1, Eyes on Point, she's closed into 46, 47. She hasn't got blistering paces to run into. I think she's kind of like this bigger racetrack. She's run better numbers at Oaklawn than she's run at Delta Downs, which is, a little bit of a smaller bull ring racetrack that we call where when you run 6.5 furlongs, you actually run like a mile. So I think just the cutback has, really helped this horse big time, or just to the big racetrack. So, when I look at Royal Megan, I just can't play that horse at even money, although it is a very, very hot barn. But I'm just hoping there is just a little bit of pace, because I do think the 1, Eyes on Point, has to break. And with Calvin Burrell, we all know he likes to stick to the rail. I think he just stays there and makes one run. I just think that this horse is very honest. It's got a nice kick. And if it's a 7-horse field, maybe she can outkick the rest of them.
See what happens, Paulie. Thanks. Yeah, Calvin Burrell on the rail. Eyes on Point, 6-1. This horse, obviously a major player at 9-2, moving to the Diodoro barn. Coming in from the West Coast. Part of the speed scenario, you would think, although had never really been that forward until last time out, at least recently.
I mean, unless the 7 gets left, they're going too fast if they're running with the 7, I believe. I think the 7's pretty quick, so I'd be surprised if they're in front of that horse.
Minute to post coming up. Let's go to JK.
Yeah, guys, I actually like the favorite in here. Yeah, I'm with Andy. There ain't a lot of human beings on this earth that I'm betting to train a horse off of David Jacobson. But if there is someone, I think a Hall of Famer like Steve Asmussen, that although he'll train a horse like Clairiere and Gun Runner and Track Phantom and Hall of Fame, he'll also train, some $10,000 claimers. And it's a game that he does well. One thing I can say is that if you look at that race 3 back, the last race for Jacobson, this horse ran a 90 time form U.S. speed figure. Came back in 2 subsequent starts for Steve Asmussen and ran 90 time form U.S. speed figures. 3 90s in a row. So, look, I would like to think this horse is basically running the same race over and over and over again, but the last 2 have been actually against the starter allowance company that they're in here. The condition's a little bit tricky. I think you had to run 4 10,000 or less in one of their last 3 starts. So Royal Megan obviously fits that condition from the race 3 back. But I thought she's run pretty well in those starter allowance races, even though she was beaten 5 and 2.5 lengths. So I actually look for her to run significantly better in here. And then I think the race is going to kind of play in her favor, being a little bit more forwardly placed as well. Timeform US suggests that being closer near the lead is an advantageous spot. And I believe they have her projected 3rd right now. Yeah, sitting 3rd. So I'm going to go with the 6, Royal Megan.
So, he pretended he was agreeing with me, but he didn't agree with me. But that's okay, John. I still love you. Jonathan's coming. We mentioned this, yes. Jonathan's coming to visit.
Next weekend, right?
It's a big event when Jonathan comes down. We got to get some signs up here, We could get the harp player. You love the harp.
I do.
The harpist. Is it
Nothing
harpist?
gets me excited like that. We could have Jonathan, too, sign autographs for a bit before he comes on.
Always that.
6-5 favorite.
Come on up if you want to see him.
Going with public backing Royal Megan as well in this spot. It looks like, well, we'll see. You believe that the 7's going to get loose here, right? So maybe there's not the speed to set it up for Royal Megan.
Listen, I'm not going to in any way saying Royal Megan can't win, but there was a stat I looked up over a 5 or 6 month period where there were 19 horses off the claim for from David Jacobson. 3 of them won. Those horses made 31 subsequent starts, a total of 50. Not a single one of them won in the next 31. Now, a horse, of course, I announced that stat, and a horse won 2 days later and paid $27. But in general, he's a tough guy to claim from. That's all I'm going to say. And she's got some back races, but I don't trust her in here. Could she win? Of course, but I'm not betting this horse 6-5.
Meanwhile, Paul pointed out the 1, that price coming down to 9-2. I think it was 6-1 a couple of moments ago. That's the one Calvin Burrell will ride. 6-time winner, making her 2nd start of the year. She comes from far back. And as Paulie said, Calvin likes to hug that fence. Going to need to try and save ground and work out a trip in this 7th race coming up. Matt Dinnerman, the call.
We're ready to go. And they're off. Tardy break from Eyes on Point, who is towards the rear of the field. Equilove caught a swift getaway, is on the lead. Never Sway right behind, chasing in the 2nd spot. Equilove clearing off, getting to the fence, leads by a length and a tail. Never Sway in 2nd. Dixie Penny 3rd to the outside, and then Royal Megan, Northern Diamond. They're side by side, 3 lengths off the lead. A gap of another 3 to the 2 trailers, Chasing Shadows and Eyes on Point. Into the far turn they go. Equilove and Ramon Vasquez on top here. Length and a half from Never Sway and Christian Torres, now about to turn up the pressure as they sprint even faster around the far turn run. A gap of 2.5 to Dixie Penny taking 3rd. Royal Megan on the inside 4th. Northern Diamonds lost some position while under pressure. Chasing Shadows, Eyes on Point still well out of it as they come off the turn here. 2-horse race. Never Sway on the outside of Equilove, and they're going at it. Never Sway going to the front. Equilove back in 2nd while leg weary. Dixie Penny trying to come on. Never Sway drifts out to the center of the track, maintains the lead. It's a clear lead, and Never Sway never wavered today. Never Sway 2.5 ahead. Dixie Penny was 2nd, Royal Megan 3rd, and Chasing Shadows was 4th.
Never Sway moving to the Diodoro barn. Christian Torres, 4th win of her career.
Well, I mean, honestly, Greg,
6-1.
She looked like a winner every single step of the way in here. Broke well, got that good position behind the 7, who has speed but just doesn't have any stamina. And this was the first time Diodoro, who paid a very generous price. And we've seen 2 in a row big prices that we saw on trainer switches, or maybe, yeah, we saw a Brilliant Man, and then this horse winning big prices with switches to Barnes that win first time out.
Post parade back in New York for the nightcap, and we start with good reunion Linda Rice first off the claim.
Never been a big fan of this horse, but she does stretch out of the claim, and Linda Rice has big numbers with maidens off the claim.
Dolly's Bank, 7 starts, is yet to hit the board.
Gets a rider switch, but gonna have to get faster, but probably better the turf, to be honest.
First time in for a claiming tag, the favorite won a winner.
This is way the horse to beat, and she's never been favored. You and I talked a little about it earlier, Greg, and maybe we'll expand it. You just worry a little about the drop down 2nd off, but maybe they're just being realistic.
Mainly because he ran pretty good coming back off the bench.
Exactly.
Friday, I'm in love. Jeremiah Engelhardt trains.
My top choice has to break. She breaks. He breaks, he'll be in front, and I'm hoping he can wire.
Waffler with Luis Rivera Jr.
He's been running well, but he's been running these maiden 30s, and he's facing some new faces in this group that just seem better.
Robbie Davis trains Fluorescent Bay. Big price.
Going to have to improve.
Meanwhile, Watch Hill, Mike Maker, Dylan Davis.
Well, the thing to like if you like this horse is getting back to a fast track, because the fast track races are clearly better races and makes him a contender.
Waffler finished ahead of that one last time. I was a beaten odds-on favorite. Here's the 8 Compromiser. Blinkers off. Bruce Grossman trains.
This horse at one time looked competitive enough, and 2 back ran a figure close enough. So if you want a bomb to get in there somewhere, maybe you throw this one in 3rd and 4th in some supers.
And 32-1 outside here on this 9, trained by Rachel Sells with Lane Luzzy.
I watched the replay of this horse, no speed. I just didn't see anything to recommend, but it's a second time starter, so at a big price.
And that is that Lane Luzzy? Yeah, waiting for his mount. Told that this horse tossed him. So good to see he's walking under his own power.
Absolutely.
For more, let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, guys, the 9 horses running loose around the far turn. Just went past the Harrow yard. He got past the Outriders at this point, and he's down onto the backstretch. And usually when they start running off that far, usually there's a late scratch. We'll have to wait and see if until that's official. Good to see Lane walking on his own power. Getting back to the horses that are still have riders aboard, we'll start with the 3, Wanna Winner. I just can't get past this horse. I think on paper the horse makes too much sense. Best looking horse in the paddock. Continue to like him in the warm-up, and he's a favorite for a reason. And it's one of those cases where I just, instead of trying to look for a horse at a bigger price, I go, who would I want to ride in here? And I certainly would want to ride the 3, Wanna Winner. And I think the drop down is because they want a winner. The 5, Wayfarer, really looks good. Man, this horse is carrying great weight, making his 3rd start already this year in 2024. I just think in good form. I agree with Andy. You're getting some drop downs, and maybe this is a little bit tougher, but I couldn't get past how good this horse looked from a physical perspective. A horse that looks second best to me from a physical perspective would be the 7, Watch Hill. And another one that makes sense on paper, could be competitive here. It's just very well turned out for trainer Mike Maker, who, obviously we see continues to do good work, but nothing bold, guys. I'm going with the favorite here, the 3, Wanna Winner.
All right, Mig, thanks. There you see prices from Oaklawn, by the way. Never Sway, $14.
A little low in the trainer change double. Parlay came back 126, and it only paid like 100 for 2.
Good news. Outriders caught up with this horse here, Lane Leslie's mount. And remains to be seen. Let's see, number has been taken off the board, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Richie's right to say that usually results in a scratch, but you don't want to be wrong and say this horse is gonna run. So appreciate that.
All right, so 9 coming out of the race, but better news. A-OK.
Yep.
Outriders caught up with them. So favorite 8-5 here, Wanna Winner. And, just back to your point about the drop making, I don't know, maybe a little tepid to back this horse, because the horse did run very good coming back off, what was it, a 9-month layoff, and would make you think, well, if the horse ran this good coming back off the bench, why not keep him in tougher company?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, second place in a $70,000 maiden special of New York Breds is $14,000, so even if you don't win. So you wonder why the sudden drop, but it also could be you're out for a long time. Obviously, there are some issues to keep the horse on the track. You run well. This race comes up, and you say to yourself, you know what? They paid $125,000. That doesn't matter anymore. The purse of this race, $36,000. You get about $20,000 for a win. If we could get claimed, we keep the 30. It's $50,000, and we've moved on. There are some issues, obviously, that kept him off the track. But you're talking about a horse now. Well, this horse is now 8-5. You and I thought this horse would be very short in here, and is getting into that category. But to argue that this horse isn't the horse to beat would be silly.
Right.
On paper, this horse. When somebody says, "Well, he's 0 for 8," and the shortest price he ever was 4-1. So he's not been in one single race that he was supposed to win. So it's not like he's losing races he's supposed to win. It's these 0 for 8 horses that have 3 and 4 times they were favored that keep losing that are problems, not horses that aren't favored.
Real quick, by the way, you see that late scratch there of the 9. We're going to be saying goodbye to our audiences watching on SNY, Bally Sports SoCal San Diego as well. So thanks for being with us on this Sunday coverage. We will continue along on FS2, so you can hop on over there to continue watching with our more coverage coming up from the Oaks and Derby Trail at Sunland Park and more from Oaklawn.
You love Sunland Park.
I'm excited to see these horses. A lot of actually very, very interesting pedigrees in that Sunland Park Oaks.
I've been to New Mexico. I went to Santa Fe with my mom when I was a kid.
Good things?
I saw Pinocchio in a big old movie theater. I still remember it. It's the kind of things I remember in life. That's the way my brain works. Santa Fe's a great town. Are you kidding me? It is. It's great there.
Yeah, spent some time at Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Really?
Yeah. Nightcap here. Wanna Win, a 7-5 favorite. Trevor McCarthy. Saw him have that 8-1 winner to kick off this late pick 3. Can he close out the card with the favorite for Michelle Nevin? Wanna Win, a 3-horse. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin, the call.
Goes in. All set. far outside, Compromiser has the early lead. It's Compromiser right out towards the front, and Waffler is also right there. Friday, I'm in Love is now splitting rivals, has put a neck in front. Down towards the inside, Dolly's Bank is now trying to assume command here as they get set to come out of the chute. They are head and head, and Friday, I'm in Love wants to hold that position, is still now a half length in front. Dolly's Bank is back to alone in second, and here comes Waffler out in the center of the racetrack from third. Compromiser also moving as a team. There comes Good Reunion, who's at the rail, is progressing forward. Is there with Wanna Winna towards the back end. Watch Hill and Fluorescent Bay is the trailer. They work out the backstretch, 23 and 4 for that opening quarter mile. Friday, I'm in Love. It's Friday, I'm in Love, who's in front. Down towards the inside there is Dolly's Bank as Waffler starts to progress forward at 6-1. Under a very tight hold, Good Reunion. Kendra Carmouche here in fifth here in between rivals. Moving forward towards the outside of that one was Wanna Winna, who just held that position. Watch Hill starts a rally from the back. Compromisers lost some ground to the trailer. Fluorescent Bay. It's still Friday. I'm in Love, 48 and 1. That half-mile time, Friday I'm in Love, is in front, is up by a length and a half. Waffler is all in here from second. Wanna Win is chasing from third. Watch Hill out wider. Good Reunion now gets the split, and Good Reunion's looking for a seam. It's still Friday I'm in Love, holding them off for so long. It's Friday I'm in Love, but here comes Wanna Winna motoring down the center of the racetrack now. Wanna Winna coming right after Friday I'm in Love, and Wanna Winna has taken the lead. It's Wanna Winna. Friday I'm in Love is coming right back on the inside. Wanna Winna. Friday I'm in Love coming right back still. Wanna Winna. Friday I'm in Love. Wanna Winna wins it. Wanna Winna over. Friday I'm in Love. But for show in 1 minute 42.34 seconds.
Wanna Winna. Trevor McCarthy, Michelle Nevin, drop in class, had to work for this one. Friday I'm in Love, who you liked, ran a good race.
Yeah, and broke well. And listen, I mean, Jose did everything he could and fought back gamely, just couldn't quite get it done. It was close. And it was an interesting situation because I needed the 3 for a little more than the 4, a little more than the 3, but you need only the 3. So I'm happy to see you get the win as well, Greg, in here. And listen, it was a close beat. I don't think it was a tough, close beat because the 4 had every chance to win it. It was a good pick, and I'm an idiot for not betting exactas.
Gotta think this horse got claimed. What do you think?
It'll be interesting. I don't know. Maiden claims are tough, you know, because what do, right? They got to go. It's not winning a non-winner's a 1. New York Breds, I mean, I could see the horse getting claimed, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
Son of Blame breaks through on the drop down in class here. Career start number 9 and a nice Sunday afternoon for Trevor McCarthy.
Yeah, but he beat me here by a head for a few dollars, so I'm bitter. But, you know, if he hadn't won the other race, we would have made more in that pick 3. And also, you know, we get that bonus, or that $2,500
That
bonus.
is true. Hopefully everyone opted in.
I'm going to tell you something. I have a lot of, now this paid $50, so I think a lot of people are going to have it, but I have talked to many people who have gotten serious money doing that, where they've been one of 2, 3, or 4 people that have had it. It's always worth opting in.
Want to remind everyone watching now, we just learned this information as well, watching on FS2. We're going to go to the app after this break here. Seton Hall, St. John's men's basketball is going to tip off on FS2. We'll be back on in a little bit, but we're going to head to the app again after a break, Fox Sports app. So just know that. 7-5 favorite. Wanna Winna with the victory to close out the card in New York. Oaks and Derby Trail coming up from Sunland Park. Steve Asmussen winning as trainer in North American history. He's got big chances in both. We'll be back. More coming up on our Sunday coverage.
In the Pilgrim Stakes, they come on for the finish. Annapolis by a head.
It is Annapolis in front. It is Annapolis to win the Coolmore Turf Mile.
Nominate now for this year's Fasig-Tipton Selected Yearling Sales. The July Sale. A strong market for precocious and athletic yearlings that attract the sport's leading end users. Last year, 40% of yearlings sold brought $100,000 or more. The 103rd Saratoga Sale. The crown jewel of American yearling sales, Saratoga set new sale records for the second year in a row, including the highest price yearling sold in the world in 2023.
Tice upstairs, $4 million even.
New York bred yearlings, the #1 marketplace for New York breds, held during the Saratoga race meet. Selected sales, superior results. Visit selectedyearlings.FazigTipton.com to nominate now and rise above the crowd at our 2024 Selected Yearling Sales.
The sun shines bright on Caraconte. His first crops of racing age are showing brilliance on the racetrack with a high percentage of stakes winners. His versatility is evidenced by winners on all surfaces across the globe.
Spandarella could not have been more impressive.
The sun shines bright on this value sire.
Fair down 25, fair down 25, fair down. Thank you. Right here, 525,000.
Caraconte, standing at Gainesway.
Wait, there's a 12. We're back on America's Day at the Races, Sunday coverage. Brought to you by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Card in the books. Here in New York, Juana Winna, drop in class, gets the win.
Yeah, barely gets the win and is able to run down, a no-excuse second place finish for a Friday I'm in Love, but Juana Winna gets it done on the outside. And just the best horse sometimes wins. And let's put it in perspective. This horse ran about 2 seconds slower than the stake today. This horse is running buyers in the mid to high 60s. So that puts that number, I think that number is going to be the low to mid 80s for the stake winner, the buyer number. And those are the kind of numbers you want to be running with a 3-year-old filly this time of the year, and it can dream a little bit.
Yeah, My Main Squeeze, winner of the Maddie May.
And Buck Butler can say, I'll leave it up to Mike. Mike's going to be dreaming big. We know Mike.
Mike Maker trains that filly, and potentially bigger, better things on the horizon. So interesting to see what path she will take. Meanwhile, waiting in that division, what a performance in the Rachel Alexandra for this Brad Cox filly, Tarifa, daughter of Bernardini.
I mean, Flavien Prat's always in the perfect spot, but this was a bit of a rocking chair ride as she sat in the inside and just exploded past her rivals in the stretch, and earned the same 90 buyer the Risen Star got. A very facile win, and I think, it's a sloppy track. Once again, you want to see it in dry tracks, but this puts her squarely in the top tier for the Kentucky Oaks horses going forward for Brad Cox and Godolphin. And for those of us that bet a few dollars on her, she was 6-1 going to the gate. She was the co-third choice in the doubles and took all the late money.
5-2.
Paid $7 even. So a lot of people liked her, and they were right.
Brad Cox, Monomoy Girl, 2018. She Dares the Devil, 2020 in the Kentucky Oaks, and now he has another major contender.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good horses. He seems to do okay.
Yeah, so some faces starting to emerge in a division where there were no superstars. We haven't seen just FYI come back. She could certainly move forward. And,
absolutely.
She will move forward. A lot can still happen. Let's take a look at the Kentucky Oaks leaderboard. We have a Kentucky Oaks prep coming up from Sunland Park. And Steve Asmussen, as we told you going to break, will be represented in both these Oaks and Derby preps from out at Sunland. But now with that win, Tarifa at the top of the list.
Right. Now, keep in mind, I believe there are more 50-point preps to go, and there are the 100 preps
this
to
was,
go.
I believe the first of them, right?
Yeah. So, I don't think just FYI and Tarifa are going to have a problem getting in there, but this is going to change quite a bit.
Including with a 20-point race to the winner coming up next in the Sunland Park Oaks. Used to be a race that was run at a mile and a 16th, but now is run about 5 weeks earlier. So will be a 2-turn mile distance in this Oaks prep. 1-5 on Simply Enchanting. Phil D'Amato says, look, we're going to take a shot. We always thought longer would be better for her. Actually, they were surprised. She won first time out going 6 furlongs.
Yeah, sorry, I have to get to my PPs. Listen, she's probably the speed, stretching out. But as you say, a Nyquist, she shouldn't have a problem with the distance. I looked some stats up. Stretching on the dirt off maiden wins. Phil D'Amato is 3 for 8, not a big sample size, with a 335 ROI. He's 1 for 2 doing it their second starts with a second place finish and a $4 ROI. So in the small sample size, he's been effective doing this. And I mean, I'm not running the window at 2-5, but she is just way the horse to beat.
She is a half-sister to multiple graded stakes winner Envoûtant. And this is actually going to be Phil D'Amato's first ever starter at Sunland Park.
Really? Wow. And she also got a break because I'm assuming that, I mean, she wasn't the second choice in the morning line, but I don't quite understand why Floating Beauty, with her big figures, especially considering she ran fourth behind Tarifa, why she wouldn't have been the second choice in here when you have a horse that has clearly the fastest figures scratched. I mean, they're betting on Recharge, Steve Asmussen, but at Remington Park and Sam Houston, she won easily, but those were slow races. I know the two's just off a maiden win at 6 furlongs, but I wouldn't bet against her at 2 to 5. You got any brilliant thoughts or potentially brilliant or dumb thoughts?
We'll see. Mile distance, start number 2. Is she up to it? You have Todd Fincher's filly in the rail. 3 straight stakes wins, including one where she beat the boys back in October. She's now stretching out as well. So half to Offering Plan, who is a multiple stakes winner, went over, I believe, $890,000.
Mike Dubb had Offering Plan, yeah. Chad Brown trained. And this horse, yeah, Gun Runner. This horse should be the second choice, not the 5, in my opinion.
Todd Fincher says she is acting like the more ground, the better. She should relish it. Of course, he's going to be heading to Saudi next week with Senor Buscador.
That race is going to be a war.
Going to be fun.
The deepest Saudi Cup we've seen, and for all the people that think the Japanese horse is the best horse in the world, they're going to have a few to choose from. And I've been told reliably by somebody very smart that Forever Young, who's running in the Saudi Derby or whatever they call that, the 3-year-old race, is the goods.
Wow, okay.
Good song.
We'll have coverage of that race. It is.
The real one, the Bob Dylan one.
8 a.m. Eastern.
Rod Stewart one.
On Saturday. 3 to 5 favorite here. Sunland Park Oaks. 20 points to get into that starting gate for that first Friday in May to the winner. As we are set for a start, Eric Alwyn, the call.
Recharge. Joel Rosario looking for a hat trick of 3 straight stakes wins. And here's that impressive maiden winner for Judge Lanier Racing, the 6 Methods. They're all set. Off and running in the Sunland Park Oaks. Getting away fast was Raspberry Wine, but Simply Enchanting will have none of that. And she accelerates along with the quick Recharge. Recharge, quite nimble on the attack she is. And she's going to be at the point leading by 2 from Simply Enchanting, who relaxes second. Back into third now is Raspberry Wine. Fourth is Methods, and at the back of this field, trailing by 5, is Candy Isle. They're going fairly quickly, but not overly so, and their leader is Recharge. Recharge leads by a length. The much larger Simply Enchanting is chasing second. There's Raspberry Wine in tow third. Methods begins to improve fourth, and still with a good look at the entire field, trailing by 5, is Candy Isle. She does look amped up and ready to respond. Halfway through the Sunland Park Oaks, it's still Recharge leading a length. Still in chase mode is Simply Enchanting. While in third, Methods and Raspberry Wine go toe-to-toe, and now sweeping wider and coming is Candy Isle. Beware of Candy Isle as that one is quickening. It's still Recharge with the lead. Simply Enchanting has to respond now. And on the far side, Candy Isle is whipping in a very nice move. Quarter mile to go in the Sunland Park Oaks. It's still Recharge digging in for the fight, but Candy Isle could be strictly the one to beat. Candy Isle switching into motion. It's Candy Isle and Recharge in a terrific duel here in the Sunland Park Oaks. And Recharge is not going away. Recharge digging in. Candy Isle fighting bitterly. It's going to be Recharge. Recharge won it in a thrilling display of courage. Recharge on top in the Oaks over Candy Isle, who ran too good to lose. Simply Enchanting defeated in third.
What a finish. It's Recharge, Steve Asmussen, Joel Rosario, and her half-brother. She had actually had a big day here in the past, had won the Mind That Bird Derby. Reride.
Give Joel Rosario the credit. When Joel wants to lead with a horse, nobody can get in his way. And this horse did not project to be in front. Pace projected the horse last early. Joel said, I'm going to the front. That's going to help prevent the 2 from cruising along in the front end. And getting by Joel Rosario in the stretch is not an easy thing for the very best riders in the country. And in this case, able to hold Recharge together. Didn't like her, she got the money.
thriller on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. Recharge picking up 20 points to get into that starting gate. Now, first Friday in May, Derby prep still to come in the Sunland Park Derby. Right now, it's back to Oaklawn for the 8th. Post parade for this entry-level allowance. 2-turn mile. We start with what's to do.
I was guaranteed I had a winning ticket from Greg, but did not include the one who looks like a long shot. And then he had a caveat.
Little sister Sue, I got worse news for you.
Stretching out in this race, going to have to be effective doing so.
Here's Malibu Smart, Rafael Bejarano.
Well, it's Chris Hartman again. Always dangerous, though. He has the favorite the outside as well.
I like this one quite a bit. 5-1 on Xylophone.
Yeah, the problem with Xylophone, Greg, is that it's switching away from Chris Hartman, and I just hate those switches.
35-1, Delphia, Rocco Bowman aboard.
Yeah, Delphia looks like the first one of 4 in a row that just look like they're a bit overmatched.
Should see pace, Whiskey Lullaby.
Yes, I agree, forward for Diodoro, but it's really more of a turf horse.
Recent form is just not there for Lady J.
I echo those sentiments.
Wildwood by 12-1 right now for Scott Becker.
Yeah, stretches out, but doesn't feel like it's going to be an easy pace up front, does it?
No, it does not. Going to be part of it, though. Beau Draw at 9-1. Manny Esquivel.
I think this horse is an overlay at that price. Got to get positioned, but this is a big price.
Faith Alone, more pace here.
Coming in from out of town as well.
Steve Keith Asmussen, father-son with Twin Mischief.
Hasn't run in 7 months and has to improve.
And there's a look. They all look good coming out of that barn, don't they? Wow, 7-1. And then Red River Magic, your favorite outside, had a big win at Churchill Downs, had a race taken off the turf.
But that was off the turf, and it was a one-turn race. Now, this horse cleared from post 4 last time, but with post 12, with a lot of speed in here, this is a tough horse to take at a short price to get clear and be able to win here. I would bet against.
Let's go to Paul for more.
Yeah, it is a tough proposition for the 12 horse in here, Red River Magic, for Chris Hartman. Now, I was given this horse actually today, earlier when I walked in, that it was a live horse. But, the horse is live on paper. But you do draw the 12 hole with a lot of speed inside. And I'm wondering if Concepcion decides to, take back here and not go towards the front end, or does the 12 try to clear this field and just try to run them off their feet? It remains to be seen. I do think the other Chris Hartman runner, Malibu Smart, heady claim for maiden 30 when the horse broke his maiden. Kind of horse that he's got a kind of a 1-2 punch where the 12 can go towards the front end, and the 3's the horse that could be launching from far back. So with the pace in here, I maybe would tend towards the 3 of the Hartman runners, but the 12 could be tough, especially the way they're betting him from the outside. He's the lowest with Will Pays in every category, and he's been touted around the racetrack. Let's just put it that way. I'm with Andy a little bit on the 9, or Beau Draw. I think a lot of people don't know who Henry West is, but he's had a couple starts at this meet with this horse, and he's running a 2nd and a 3rd. And he's, I know 6% for the year, but this mare has run well under his care in 3 straight starts, right at the, I would guess, right at the buyer figures that fit in this company. And you're getting a solid 10-1 with obviously Manny Esquivel, a good rider aboard. I just think the unfamiliarity maybe with the trainer is why you're getting that price. And then I'll go with the 4 here, Xylophone. I know you like this horse a little bit in here, Greg. This horse got giant numbers. You do make a good point, Andy. You're leaving the Chris Hartman barn, but Burl McBride has had this mare before. And, she likes to win races. She's consistent. She's won 2 races in 2023. She won 4 races in 2022. Your worry would be, Greg, she's never won over the Oaklawn Strip. But I think this is Chris Hartman's race to lose. I think this race is 3-12 or 12-3.
And there is the 3. Malibu Smart, Rafael Bejarano. See if Hartman can add another one here coming up. And Public right now, modest favorite at 3-1. Yeah. But not scared away from that outside post in a race with all this speed. And it looks like that's the way she's got to win.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like I said, I'm not going to be shocked if this horse is effective here. I'm never surprised when Chris Hartman horses run well. But now 5-2. There is too much speed inside, and this is not a rider who has a lot of experience riding at Oaklawn either. And I believe this is the apprentice that won the Apprentice Eclipse last year. But nonetheless, now a journeyman and a much different story. And Ken to Oaklawn, that post, I mean, this horse gets hung out 4 wide in the first turn, and they're moving up front. You don't want this horse at any price.
Let's go to Jonathan. Your thoughts here, JK, on this 8th?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 3 Malibu Smart, the other Chris Hartman, for a couple of reasons. One, like Andy mentioned, there's a lot of speed in here. But a lot of times when you're trying to identify the way that pace might unfold, you can look to riders and try to learn their tendencies if you follow a circuit. But I think one other thing you can do is where do they draw? Like this 12 horse towards the outside with all the speed. What are they going to do with this horse? Rate the horse? It doesn't make a lot of sense from way out there because you can rate the horse and still end up wide. You might as well send away from there. You're the best horse in the field. And the other thing that I like about it is that Chris Hartman has 2 in here. He has the 3 Malibu Smart, who's the one that's going to come from off of it. And then he has the 12 Red River Magic. And in my opinion, with a horse in this situation, if I was in this situation, not that I could ever be a trainer, but if I was in this situation, I would send the 12 towards the outside, see if they all take back. They're looking at the same past performances that we all are. Maybe they take back, maybe I clear and make the lead. And if I don't, I'm going to set it up for the stablemate. And then maybe next time around, I can alley-oop the other way. So I'm going to go with the 3 Malibu Smart as I scroll through here. Wolfie Malibu Smart.
4-1 on the 3.
John's being very cagey about his visit here. He really is.
He hasn't talked about it at all.
He's not as excited as we are. I'm feeling a little bad. Maybe we'll just ignore him when he comes.
I'm very excited. I just like to sneak in there. I like to sneak in. I like the security guards asking me for my ID, and I don't even own an ID. So then I got to try to say, no, guys, I'm here to be on TV. And then they're looking at me like, no, you're not. And it's a lot of fun. I like it that way better.
Andy's planning on meeting you at the airport.
They're going to deny you. They're going to deny you entry, Jonathan. Now you've given Greg an idea. So now it's going to be really bad. Your picture's going to be posted. Don't let this guy in. Either that or there's going to be a brass band waiting for you.
Both sound nice.
It's such a long winter, Jonathan. We need something to be excited about.
We look forward to it. It's going to be great to have him here. That's coming up next weekend. We got a great weekend ahead. Next week, Rebel coming up on the show. Early coverage. Saudi, that $20 million race. And, I mean, look, National Treasure Preakness winner, won the Pegasus. White Barrio coming back, Classic winner. Dermiso Tagake, runner-up in the Classic.
It's a great time of the year, as you say, with those races. Then the following weekend, the Gotham here. I always feel like the Gotham is like our doorway into spring. We're not quite there yet, but it's always been a race that I know Richie's up here walking around. It's been a favorite of his as well, the one-turn mile here. So things are really looking up. It's a great time of the year for racing, too.
I hope you join us next weekend. We got a lot more coming up, including a Derby prep, though, ahead on this show. And we'll see if Steve Asmussen pulls off a sweep, gets recharge in the Sunland Park Oaks. That was a hard-fought battle to get that win. But as you said, as they were running that race, it is very hard to get by Joel Rosario in the stretch.
Yes. Even for the absolute best riders in the game, is the number 12 is now 2-1 as they circle around.
So the 12, that's Red River Magic. Chris Hartman as well. Showed sprint speed, actually first time out.
Just a tough 1 mile, hit that turn quickly. Listen, I wish the best of luck, but I'm not mad at you for not telling me to use them. My $4 Pick 3 investment hinges on your 4 and 9, Greg. I'm going to ride it out.
We played because you have to play these bonuses, and there was a Pick 3 bonus today, $2,500 up, to anyone who hits, sharing that pot, the Pick 3.
And we had the 6-1 single in the first leg, betting against that 6-5.
See what happens here. Matt Dinnerman, the call, the 8th from Oaklawn.
The black. Bow draw, post 9. Whiskey Lullaby coming up. Goes in. Faith Alone has gone forward, 2 back now. Twin Mischief to post 11, and then to the outside, Red River Magic. This race starts and ends at the 16th pole, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to go. And Laroff. On the far outside, Red River Magic's getting into it early. Whiskey Lullaby quarter-horsed out of the gate to get to the front. She's got the lead from Red River Magic, Lady J, and Delphia. Those three line up right behind that pacemaker, Whiskey Lullaby, around the clubhouse turn. Whiskey Lullaby on top, 3/4 of a length. Lady J comes out of the pack to take second. Delphia, Red River Magic, they're side by side, third and fourth. A gap of 2.5 to Faith Alone, settling in the 5th position, racing alone. Then a line of runners. Beau Draw on the 3 path, about to claim the 6th position, swinging up the backstretch. Malibu Smart, Little Sister Sue, they're next. And then there's a gap of 2 to Twin Mischief, a similar margin to Xylophone. What's to Do at the rear. They're down the backstretch. Whiskey Lullabies on top by a little less than 2 lengths. Red River Magic taking the 2nd spot with Lady J. Red River Magic all the way into 2nd, about to challenge the front runner, Whiskey Lullaby, into the far turn. Delphia slipping inside of a runner into the turn. She's 2 behind as they start to pack up now. Beau Draw being asked to go, and farther out is Twin Mischief around the turn. Faith Alone behind a wall of horses losing position. Wildwood By is next. Little Sister Sue trying to rally on as they come to the top of the lane and really start to back out these early leaders. And on the lead, we've got 2 of them, Red River Magic and Beau Draw, these 2 together on the lead, and they turn for home as one. This race will end at the 16th pole. Outside Beau Draw, inside Red River Magic, they're 4 lengths clear. Xylophone's trying to come on late and catch these top 2, and with a shot, Xylophone. Beau Draw comes away with the lead. Xylophone lunging late. Here comes the line. Photo finish. Very, very tight between Xylophone and Beau Draw on the line. Third home was Malibu Smart. Red River Magic next.
Comes down to Beau Draw, Manny Esquivel, and Xylophone with Chelsea Bailey. Let's take another look.
Greg Wolf is my hero. Told me you just only have to use 2 in here, the 4 and 9. They ran 1-2 at 6 and 7 to 1. The Mig's laughing so hard he had to leave the room. I don't know, and there's a lot of shadows. I felt like the 9 held on watching it the first time, and that horse ran very well, Beau Draw. Manny Esquivel making, if he lost, he's thinking, ugh, I moved too soon. And think about where the 4 came from. The 4 came from dead last. I think the 9 got it, right?
Yeah, it looked
the 9
like
held
it.
on. The 4 came from dead last, this horse moved. And I'll tell you something. The 12 didn't win. 12 ran extremely well in here, but we talked about it. A lot of pace, outside post, hung out 4 wide in the first turn. I think there's an argument the 12 may run close to the best race, if not the best race, but that was too much to overcome.
One more look. Was it inside or out? Where's that wire?
Well, on that angle, the 9 clearly got it. He got the bob and got it. I think the 9 got it. I actually don't think it was that close.
There it is. 9 put up. Unofficially 9, 4, 3, 12, 7 to 1. Beau Draw.
Who do I have in the last race, Greg? Who do I have?
3 and 11.
3 and 11. Okay.
Trained by Henry West.
Big 3 could be good.
Manny Esquivel, yeah. What's 6 to 1, 7 to 1 start?
Yeah, 6 to 1, 7 to 1. Let's see what this double.
6-year-old mare by Oxbow with the victory. There in the 8th from Oaklawn. Prices when we come back. I
will be back for one more segment.
One more segment from Andy. Stay with us.
Getting oxygen in the other room.
Back with you on America's Day of the Races Sunday coverage. Brought to you in part by Naira Bets, where you can play it all. Go to nairabets.com. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Live look at Sunland Park. The Oaks on the road to this year's Kentucky Oaks goes to recharge in a thriller for Steve Asmussen, Winchell Thoroughbreds, and Joel Rosario.
Joel's happy wherever he is, isn't he?
He really is.
He's just a happy man, and I'm always glad to see Joel doing well. He's a wonderful person, and a great ride. It really was. I mean, all kidding aside, this was a great ride, and he had a plan, and he said, if I get beat, I'm getting beat on the front end. I'm not getting beat from behind.
This 1.5 to multiple Grade 2 winner Finite, and now undefeated 3 for 3 at 3 different racetracks.
She was more of a sprinter, though, Finite, right? I feel like, could be wrong. I thought she was a sprinter. But she got the win here. I don't think this win's going to make her the Kentucky Oaks winner, though. I'll take the New York bred. What do you think?
Waits to be, we'll wait and see if my main squeeze gets on this Oaks trail. Look, hey, keep winning. Well done. And you can keep dreaming to this point. See what happens next with recharge. But thrilling finish. Their Candy Isle running good. Simply Enchanting, not today. Phil D'Amato thought more ground would be better. Maybe next time around.
Yeah, she's going to win going long. She's going to do it in the front end. I didn't like that performance.
Back at Oaklawn, it was Beau Draw. 6-year-old mare wins for the 3rd time in 16 starts.
Great calls by you, Greg, in here. Beau Draw, Manny Esquivel made a bit of an early move in here. You saw him moving up in the backstretch 4 wide and was able to hold on for the victory as the 2nd place finisher coming, Greg, from dead last. And once again, I'm going to say great call by you, my friend. 3 and 11, the pick 3, they are the favorites. They're 100, about 180 for 50 cents. There it is, 109 and a quarter and 82.60 for 50 cents. You're not, as I said, breakfast sandwich. If I did.
All right, so the 9th and finale on the Sunday card at Oaklawn. $12,000 maiden claiming race, so 6 furlong sprint. Yeah, the 3 Bourbon on Fire. Biggest figures, really, of anybody in this group. 0 for 20, though, at this point. 9 to 2, that's going to come down.
You gave me an 0 for 20 horse?
Who stands out on figures.
Okay.
And then Sir Peel for Ron Moquetta was 0 for 10.
Okay, listen, I'm along for the ride, Greg. You've got me this far. I'm already happy.
See what happens. That is it for Andy on our Sunday coverage. You're back tomorrow?
I will be back tomorrow.
We will see you then on President's Day. Mig joining me after a short timeout. We will, among other things, discuss the rich race being run next Saturday. White Abarrio making his return. Whitney, classic winner, lining up for $20 million in his seasonal debut for the Dutrow Barn. We'll have a preview coming up.
Breeders' Cup champion Good Magic by Sire of Sires Curlin was the sire of first crop Kentucky Derby champion Mage, one of 3 Grade 1 winners to date, along with Muth and Blazing Sevens. In 2023, with just 2 crops to race, Good Magic ranked 21st on the general sire list with $9.5 million in earnings. 2-year-olds sold for up to $2 million, and yearlings sold for up to $725,000. Good Magic, the classic sire.
Makes the lead with the most 2-year-old maiden special winners by any sire. On the backstretch, Mitoli and Omaha Beach close the gap with stakes performers from coast to coast. Vino Rosso finds his best and leads on the turn with 4 Grade 1 colts on dirt. But it's Mitoli with his 3rd TDN Rising Star, your champion freshman, leading an impressive Spendthrift Superfecta.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
He loved racing. My wife, Tammy, always called it his vice. It was a hobby for him, but he loved it.
Longtime owner and racing enthusiast, B. Wayne Hughes, acquired Spendthrift, a storied thoroughbred farm located outside Lexington, Kentucky, in 2004. He expanded his involvement in the sport, switching his focus from the racetrack to the farm.
And then when he bought the farm, everything changed because he couldn't help himself because he's a businessman. He was a genius, really. First time I came to the farm, it was not in great shape at the time. It was quite a fixer-upper, so I was not that impressed, frankly. And Wayne set about bringing it to where it is now, which is worlds away from where we started.
Hughes knew how to run a successful business as co-founder and CEO of Public Storage. He made the Forbes 400, a list of the wealthiest people in America.
He was so innovative, he was disruptive. He was not interested in how things were always done. He wanted to do something differently, sometimes just to try to see if it was worth it. And then he was always willing to be wrong. He was a champion for the little guy.
Eric Gustafson learned about horse racing from Hughes. Eric would join his mentor and father-in-law in the day-to-day business, striving to return Spendthrift back to its glory days.
And then we have what we consider the best stallion in the country in Into Mischief. I remember being at the track with Wayne at Hollywood Park when he won the Grade 1 Futurity. And Wayne turned to me and said, "Oh, we got ourselves a stallion." And neither one of us, obviously, at the time could have known what that meant.
On November 1st, 2022, Hughes' vision of building a fan-centric destination became a reality.
Wayne died unfortunately, it was a year or so before we got to open the visitor center. We were in the construction process. We were thankful for the opportunity to name it after him and an opportunity for my wife and I and the rest of us, the team at Spendthrift, to honor the man that made it all possible.
Located between the Farm Stallion Complex and the main office doors is the B. Wayne Hughes Visitor Center. The 7,000 square foot, 2-floor facility features a trophy room, artifacts, and racing's memorabilia. The second you open the door, there's Authentic's Kentucky Derby glory built into a colorful display in the floor. You'll also find the Spendthrift collection in the gift shop with apparel that'll rival your favorite campus bookstore.
I think he would love it. He would be enthralled with it. He'd be really proud of it. And then he would say, "How much did this cost?"
Our coverage, America's Day at the Races, continues. Nightcap still to come from Oaklawn, and the road to the Derby, Sunland Park Derby, still coming up. Joined on the desk by the Mig, Richard Migliore. Good to have you out from the cold here, up here as we get set for, look, interesting. We had a great battle in that Oaks race. Joel Rosario, Winchell Thoroughbred, Steve Asmussen able to pull it out with Recharge, see if they can pull off the sweep.
Yeah, Recharge was just so comfortable on the lead. Joel had that long hold, that kind of high perch in the saddle, keeping her nice and relaxed, and she showed a lot of determination. I mean, he rated her beautifully, but you have to have a horse that won't shy from a fight, and Recharge certainly did not shy away from a fight.
Asmussen and Rosario, they'll team up in the Derby with Informed Patriot for the owners who campaign Jackie's Warrior. And that's still to come in just a little bit. This weekend, of course, huge showdown in the older horse division. Terrific card. This Saudi Cup day, $20 million on the line in the main event. 8 a.m. Eastern start time on FS2. White Apario, Classic winner coming back. Preakness winner, Pegasus winner, National Treasure going to line up against him, and the runner-up in the Classic, Derma Sotagake, among that international crew, will be there as well.
Yeah, I think this is a great rematch between White Apario, a horse that creates his own trip, puts himself up into the fight early. He's not a horse that needs the lead, but his natural speed puts him in good position. He stayed out at Santa Anita training up for this, but how good was the run from Dermot Serdagaki, who really came with a finish off an extended layoff.
It was his first start since the Kentucky Derby, first Saturday in May, and this was November 4th.
Yeah, I mean, you really, I'm really looking forward to the rematch. I think that the case can be made if Dermot Serdagaki had a prep for this. It might have even been closer. Good effort from both of them. Nice to see them coming back to compete for $20 million.
Incredible. What about National Treasure?
Well, listen, you got to respect National Treasure. I mean, he's a horse that ran extremely well last time. He's a Preakness winner. He has speed. I think he definitely has a big say in how this race is going to be run. I prefer others, but you disrespect the Baffert runner in a big race at your own peril.
It just seemed, I mean, yes, he won the Preakness, but he did it, not
Soft
with this
pace.
sort of eye-opening performance. The last two starts, that runner-up finish to Cody's Wish in the Breeders' Cup Derby Mile, and then this Pegasus, he's just become a different horse.
Well, that's what we talk about, too. Horses going from 3 to 4, making that progression. Horses aren't fully mature till the age of 5. A lot of times we don't get to see them at the age of 5, but they take a big step from 3-year-olds to 4-year-olds.
Bob Baffert felt this horse would get a lot better as he matured and got older, and now we're starting to see that. Horse who chasing him here too and winds up just short for Todd Fincher. It's going to be showing up as well, Senor Buscador.
Senor Buscador shows up. He gives an effort every time. He kind of swung out wide, and I just wondered, maybe if he had stayed inside, if he wouldn't have been even, that much closer. But listen, National Treasure showed a little bit of a different dimension too, right? He's been most successful when he's controlling a race. This time he set just off a very fast rival, and you like to see that. So a horse isn't going to be compromised if there's other speeds in there. And sometimes you're compromised by a speed horse that doesn't really have a chance to win, but it keeps your horse keen and riled up. The fact that National Treasure showed that other dimension to sit just off a speed horse, I think aids him greatly.
I don't even know if it's an argument, biggest showdown yet of big name superstars we've had this year so far.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that there's any question about it. You're getting the Breeders' Cup Classic winner coming back. And, one thing about Rick Dutrow, he made a decision immediately after the Classic. This is where we're going, but I'm staying, right here at Santa Anita and preparing for it. And it sounds like the horse's preparation has been flawless up to it.
Live coverage again next Saturday. 8 a.m. Eastern start time on FS2. Not just that race, too. The entire card going to be terrific. So you will see it here on FS2. We look forward to it coming up next weekend. Nightcap still to come from Oaklawn, and Derby Trail from Sunland Park next. Going to close things out in Hot Springs with a maiden claiming 6 furlong sprint. Post-parade for you when we come back on our FS2 coverage. Back with you on America's Day of the Races. Program brought to you in part by Naira Bets, where you can play all the action. Get signed up at NairaBets.com. Back to Saturday's action from Hot Springs in the Dixie Belle 3-year-old fillies sprinting, and Mac Robertson's Extreme Diva is on a real roll right now. Minnesota bred, who went into open company at Oaklawn, ran the best race of her career, comes back 15 days later, Mig, and wins in stakes company.
Listen, you got to admire and appreciate this horse, and it just underscores the fact that a good horse can come from any place. She's got grit, determination. You can see she's not shy about a fight. She's kind of got that wide kind of paddling action, not the prettiest mover, but pretty is as pretty does in racing, and you've got to appreciate a horse that fights like that.
Yeah, it's fun to watch her do her thing again. 4 for 6 now, Paulie. What'd you think of her performance in that Dixie Belle?
I thought it was very game. You know, she got dismissed in her last start at 11-1. You know, and when you look at her PPs, you know, she was in Minnesota bred company in the maiden special weight. She won her first 2 races by a combined, 15 lengths or 19 lengths, because she was just much the best against Minnesota breds. And then she went into open company. She struggled a little bit, but in her second race off that layoff, you know, I think Chelsea Bailey had her up a little bit up close. Then Eduardo Gallardo just found the keys and was able to rate her on the outside. The interesting part is I love her pedigree. Coal Front, obviously a son of Stay Thirsty. Stay Thirsty is now transferred over to California. It's turned into kind of their best sire over there for California breds out of an Old Topper mare. And Greg, you know this from being back in California. Old Topper was standing at Tommytown Thoroughbreds for a long time. So I kind of call this horse the Minnesota/California bred, but I tell you what, she's good. She's run some giant numbers. She ran a 4 or 5 on the Thoroughgraphs last time. I would think she ran a quicker race in her last. And you know what the good part about it is, Greg? She's consistent, like Mig said, and she's been able to rate. She's been able to win from off the pace. She's been able to win on sloppy racetracks. So when you have a versatile filly, the sky's the limit, and she's just turned 3.
Yeah, so it looks like the consistency she brings, maybe there is more improvement to come from her. Fun story to follow. I know Paulie had a chance to talk to Mac Robertson afterwards, said, what's the plan next, where are you going? He was a little coy about it, but just going to relish in the stakes win and obviously see how she came back to the barn and go from there.
Yeah, you know, and I just love that about thoroughbred racing. You know, yes, people pay a lot of money for well-bred horses and horses that are perfectly conformed, but there's always that intangible, and we refer to it as heart, but I guess really it's desire. You don't know if a horse has the desire until they've tested or battle tested in the afternoon, and she shows that she's got that desire, and I appreciate horses like that. It's always fun to watch a hard-trying racehorse.
Great schedule coming up next weekend, as you saw right there, that stake schedule from Oaklawn. Derby Trail with the Rebel and full field lining up for that one. Honeybee on the road to the Kentucky Oaks, and then the Razorback in that older horse division.
It's always, they just got such a great comprehensive series for pretty much every division at Oaklawn Park. And how about the Rebel? $1.25 million purse.
Going to start off with a 12 in this nightcap for the post parade here at 7:01. This is Secret Honor, Manny Esquivel.
Yeah, and a horse that's dropping in class back to the $20,000 level, has races good enough, had 10 tries too.
Cadillac Cowboy the Rail at 8-1.
Another one making 10th try, and another one's got the buyer figures that are always around the edges.
Unproductive first 2 starts from Preparedness, drops from 20 to 12.
Yeah, he's just going to have to improve.
Major player here, even though he is 0 for 20, excuse me.
0 for 20, a lot of tries, but numbers that are good enough to win here.
The best numbers in the field. Here's a first-time starter, Fly Her by High.
And not taking any money whatsoever, and we try to let the board help us in situations like this.
Brahms Jr. at 46-1 has done very little running.
Yeah, there's another one's just going to have to improve from the form we've seen.
0 for 11 in the money for 8 straight.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one. Actually does have races in the beginning of the career that were okay, but lately leaves a lot to be desired.
Young Jonesboro going to put blinkers on.
The blinkers are going to have to make a huge difference here. This horse is going to have to show that he can get involved early.
Jinx Fires now trains the 8. Blinkers coming off in Lasix.
Well, and getting to dirt the first time, dropping in class. If you're looking for a stranger, why not at a big price?
Okay, appearance. 2 Dalton's Rut Row. Chelsea Bailey 6-1.
Yeah, a couple of decent figures that certainly could nibble around the edges here.
First-time starter, the 10, who's taking a little bit of money here with Walter De La Cruz. Here's we skipped. Oh, he's a king. Here's the 11.
Yeah, well, Serpil is another player here, 0 for 10, but has races that put him in the frame, and you get Ron Marquette as the conditioner.
Yeah, the favorite with a dropping class. And it's, even though those two, the 3 and the 11 have racked up a lot of losses, figure-wise, there's no question they're the 2 to beat in this field. Minute to post coming up. Let's go to Paul.
Okay, Greg, so you need the 3 and the 11 to close out your pick 3. They are the 2 horses that do have the best numbers in this race. Let's start with Bourbon on Fire for Kim Poole, his regular rider, Rocco Bowen. The last 2 efforts have not been much. I kind of like that. Kim Poole's horses, when they show a little bit of form, sometimes when they show a little bit of clunkiness in their form, this horse could be rounding back to where he maybe can get to the winner's circle. His issue's the gate. I went and watched back like 4 or 5, just right out of the gate. He just walks out of the gate, and he makes it a little hard on himself, basically, to run down horses. And when you're at this low of a level, it's just really hard to pass horses. So the other horse in here, the 11, taking the money at 5-2, Serpil, as you saw, Ron Marquette, he's like, listen, we were right in the ballpark here. We just need to get a good trip. Doesn't really love the outside slot. He thought the other horse, the 12, was kind of similar to him. He said, the 11 and 12, we got to march out a trip. And he was the one that kind of pointed towards me with the 10, always a king. He said, this 10 is taking a little bit of money here. Now, this is a split race. We had a race earlier in the card where if you were an Arkansas bred, the claiming price is $20,000. If you're not an Arkansas bred, it's $12,500. So, the 10 in here is an Always Dreaming of a Song in the Prayer. That's speed on speed. So maybe the 10 could be showing some speed here for Walter De La Cruz. I landed on the 9 in here, Dalton's Rut Row, and I'll tell you why. Tom Swearington had a horse run earlier today that was very unlucky, that flew home late and lost to the favorite. And Chelsea Bailey's regular rider just missing that last race. He's protected this horse twice. Now, they have a rule in Arkansas. Me and Mig were the ones that figured this out. We couldn't understand. You can protect a horse twice in Arkansas. In other jurisdictions, you can protect a horse off a long layoff once. He's protected this horse twice, took the blinkers off. I think this horse will break a little bit better and will charge home. I think you're getting a good price at 6-1, and Tom's very good with his Arky bred. So I'll go with Dalton's Rut Row with Chelsea Bailey.
All right, Paulie, thanks. 5-1 on the 9, and yeah, made that equipment change. Those blinkers coming off last start. Horse actually, on occasion, certainly that second start, it showed some sprint speed.
Yeah, and listen, when it comes to lower level horses, maiden claimers, I prefer horses that are forward, just less chance for them to get discouraged. And a lot of times they're lower level horses because they're more easily discouraged than others. I know as a kid I ran track. And if I could get into the race the right way and get in a good rhythm, I ran well. If I had to work hard to stay in the race, I was out the back.
It could be
I was
demoralizing
terrible.
being very far back in it.
Yeah.
2-1 favorite, Ron Marquette's Sir Peel with Rafael Bejarano. Price coming down on Bourbon on Fire. So 0 for 30 combined between the top 2 choices on the board, the 3 and the 11.
And 2 of the more, heavily raced horses in the race. If you're looking for a stranger, that first timer, the 10, we were talking about Always a King, taking some money with a steady work tab.
Matt Dinnerman, the call to close out the card from Oaklawn Park.
Fly Herb, fly high. Always a King. Sir Peel about to load in. Brahms Jr. in the red. Brahms Jr. goes in. 2 back, 8 straight, and Secret Honor to the outside. The Best Turned Out Award winner, Secret Otter. 8 straight the gray with Alberto Puzak. And to the outside, Secret Honor. Here's Secret Otter. We're ready to go in the finale. And Leroff from the inside, Cadillac Cowboy put into play early. 8 straight the gray horses there as well. Those two get acquainted on the lead. In the 4th spot, Young Jonesboro passing Sir Peel in the early stages. Secret Honor deeper on the course, joining that pair. Dalton's Retro extreme outside, a little bit keen off the pace down the backstretch here. We come back to the firster, Always a King. He's 5 lengths off the pace in midfield with Bourbon on Fire. Brahms Jr. and Mansur are next. A gap of 7 back to Fly Herb, Fly High, and Preparedness is the early trailer as they round the 4th turn. Dalton's Retro making a 3-deep blitz to the front. Dalton's Retro had to use some energy to get to the front, but he coasts along now in a 2-length lead. 8 straight struggling. Cadillac Cowboy losing position as they come off the turn. Dalton's Retro at the moment is all alone on the lead as a 3-length cushion as they come down the lane. Now Sir Peel takes the 2nd spot. He's charging after Dalton's Retro drifting to the outside here. Sir Peel coming on now strong. Sir Peel 8 straight down on the inside in with a shot. It's Sir Peel passing Dalton's Retro. 8 straight still in 3rd. Coming to the line, Sir Peel. Sir Peel does it. Sir Peel over Dalton's Retro, 8 straight, and Young Jonesboro, who checked in 4th.
Sir Peel, Ron Moquett, Rafael Bejarano, 11th time. The charm for this class dropper.
Worked out a nice trip, too. Made that kind of long, relentless, sustained drive from the outside and got it done over a very game number 9. Dalton's Rut Road, a nice selection by Paul there. Didn't get the money, but gave the winner all he could handle, Sir Peel. But Ron Marquette putting together a nice meet there at Oaklawn Park, and Rafael Bejarano, too. They were a good combination.
11-9, 6-7. In this nightcap from Hot Springs, Sir Peel goes off your 2-1 favorite at post time, and took a while finally finding the right spot for this horse, being a little more realistic. 5-year-old took a little while, some patience to get this horse that first win.
Yeah, you know what? You're looking at him from a physical perspective, kind of a big, long horse, long striding kind of horse by race day. Probably having outside post aided him because he could get in the rhythm and he never had to kind of change paths or do a lot of maneuvering, just kind of get into that big, steady way of going.
Rialto Racing Stables, Moquett Barn, and Rafael Bejarano winning connections with this 5-year-old who wins 11th time out, lowest level that this one had ever run at. To close out the card in Hot Springs, we still have a Derby prep to come from Sunland Park. And we're going to remember one of the greats who is way too long forgotten, finally, though, getting his due into the Hall of Fame, the great Jimmy Winkfield. His story when we come back on America's Day at the Races.
General admission tickets are on sale now for the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival at Saratoga, June 6th through 9th. Admission is just $10 on Thursday as well as on Sunday for this historic event. Visit BelmontStakes.com/tickets today.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. A very gifted, fast horse, a lot of speed, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent, beautiful physical, outworked every horse in the board. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses.
And Cyberknife has won the TVG.com Haskell over Tama. Jack Christopher finished 3rd.
The Arkansas Derby was one of his best. Showed how much talent he really does have and stamped himself as one of the best 3-year-olds in the country.
His name is Cyberknife!
Cyberknife ranks up there as one of the most talented horses I've ever had in training. Multiple Grade 1 winner, brought it every time you let him over there. Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. And if he does, he could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
Good to have you with us on our Sunday coverage. Card in the books in Hot Springs at Oaklawn. Sir Peel, favorite for Ron Moquett with Rafael Bejarano. Takes this finale here, career start number 11, dropping to the lowest level he'd run at yet. Now as a 5-year-old.
Yeah, just a real nice effort. He was always sitting in good position, didn't give himself too much to do. It looked like the 9 kind of tried to make that break, right? You think bicycle racing, when they try to break out of the pack, Dalton's Rutrow took it to them. I think always a good plan. I'd rather see a rider aggressive than complacent. Dalton's Rutrow comes up second best as Sir Peel in his 11th start, works out the right kind of trip and gets it done. And I know this is a horse that you liked.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought it would come down to the 3 or the 11. The 3 actually did not run in here. Good call by Paulie's pick, Dalton's Rutrow, but Sir Peel saves the day here. Hopefully he played that pick 3. That bonus on the line as well through Naira Betts. And Sir Peel finally breaks through and gets that victory. Well, he had a brief but brilliant riding career in the States, but whatever adversity came his way, Jimmy Winkfield always persevered. From being blackballed in the U.S. to escaping the Russian Revolution and then Nazi invasion of France, Winkfield continued to reinvent himself, always finding success and eventually winding up where he always belonged, in horse racing's Hall of Fame.
Jimmy Winkfield is probably among the most remarkable stories in thoroughbred racing history. You're talking about one of the most accomplished jockeys in a very short span in America, the only black jockey in the 20th century to win the Kentucky Derby, and he did it in back-to-back years. He was only the second guy to do that, following in the footsteps of Isaac Murphy. But his career in America is very short. After 1903, he was basically forced overseas. He had a conflict with John E. Madden, who was one of the top turfmen of the era. And there was also a lot of racism on the American tracks that really forced a lot of the black jockeys out of the game in America. Some went overseas, some just had their career end. But Winkfield had a remarkable journey throughout Russia, throughout Europe. He won over 2,500 races, and then he had success as a trainer. But it's also, you know, the other part of the story is what happened off the track. He had to escape the Bolsheviks during World War I in Russia. He had to escape the Nazis during World War II in France. So he had a remarkable life, and he kind of almost got overlooked. But some historians really revived his legacy, and through that he was able to get inducted to the Hall of Fame, to have a stakes race named after him in the New York Racing Association. So just a remarkable life, and it's great that his history has been preserved. It's a different sort of history than you see in baseball. You didn't have that one person that broke that barrier. But Winkfield's story as being the last one to win the Kentucky Derby and one of only a few to win it in back-to-back years, I think is really inspirational, and it's a big part of racing's history.
Now, it took way too long to happen, but he's finally there. Hall of Fame happened in 2004. Look at just a remarkable story. Became a great trainer in his own right, too. Actually wound up giving pretty good rider in his own right first few months of his career, Bill Hartack.
Yeah, a rider that only won 5 Kentucky Derbies. Him and Eddie Arcaro, the only 2 to do that. It is an incredible story, Jimmy Winkfield's story and his journey, and the book about his life and times is a phenomenal read. And his horsemanship was unparalleled, not only as a great rider, but as a great trainer, and being able to assess young talent and prepare horses and do it through all that adversity. It's just a phenomenal read. I love the book. And also, the race named in his honor, we've had descendants of his, family members of his out here for the race, and that's been a fantastic thing. Jimmy Winkfield is certainly a true legend of the turf.
No question. Should have probably won 3 consecutive Kentucky Derbies. Mistimed the wire a little bit. 1903. Wow. Wow, would that have been something. We're going to take a timeout. We have more coming up. Derby prep from Sunland Park on the way. Steve Asmus and Joel Rosario, chance for the sweep here if they took the Oaks prep earlier on in the card. Who is going to stamp their way that first Saturday in May with 20 points to get into that starting gate in the Derby?
Behind the gates of Hillendale Farm at Alapa, you can find a cabin-like 5,000 square foot home called the Treehouse. It's a new one-of-a-kind getaway destination located in the heart of horse country. The home offers hewn beams, flooring made from lumber harvested from Maker's Mark's original rickhouse. A room with vintage horse saddles, the collection includes one that belonged to the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis Presley. You can enjoy a drink or a meal on the back screened porch or one of 4 decks that overlook the tranquil Stoner Creek. Upon request, reservations can be purchased to experience an inside look of a working thoroughbred farm with a tour of Hillendale. The Treehouse now offers a unique place to stay on the grounds that house the famed Kentucky Stallion Station and Thoroughbred Nursery of Hillendale at Alapa.
Just incredibly beautiful grounds. Hillendale at Alapa, proud to have them as a sponsor as we continue along in our Sunday coverage. America's Day at the Races. We showed you the stake schedule coming up next weekend out in Hot Springs at Oaklawn. It is loaded with stakes action, including a race on the road to the Kentucky Derby and the Grade 2 Rebel. $1.25 million on the line, but more importantly, those points to get into the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby, and a full field is going to line up. Among those, the return of Grade 1 winner of the Champaign here in New York, Timberlake, going to make his 3-year-old debut for Brad Cox.
Yeah, I mean, Timberlake's already tipped his hand as a young horse that he has ability. He's coming back here, and you get Christian Torres, your leading rider at Oaklawn Park, and Timberlake is talented. It's going to be interesting to see. Has he made that progression? Has he continued to make those steps?
Champaign, obviously, big win. He got a 93 buyer in that performance. And you look at his Breeders' Cup Juvenile and say, well, he didn't make a huge impact. He ran the same speed figure that he did in this race.
Yeah, and listen, you know, you're talking about a 1-turn race in New York to Champaign, and it's a 2-turn race in the Breeders' Cup. It's a whole different set of scenarios for, you know, circumstances for a young horse. I mean, I like the way he flicked his ears up the last 1/8 of a mile. Look at he's winning with something left, even though he's under a drive. Look, he's just kind of like, hey, all right, I did my job, I had fun. He's very talented. I think he's going to have his hands full with a horse that's has a little more recency and been running well at Oaklawn, and Just Steel.
Well, we're going to talk about Just Steel coming up. That's the son of Justify for legendary D. Wayne Lucas. Ramon Vasquez will have the call, and he was a distant second on that wet track in the Southwest behind Mystic Dan. What do you like about him?
Well, I like that he's a very consistent sort. I was in the paddock for the Southwest, and he's a mountain of a horse. There's so much to him, Greg. He's huge. And he looked a little bit on the heavy side to me. He was second best here, obviously. But the next morning, I was talking with Wayne Lucas about him. And he said that because they had weather down in Oaklawn, he missed considerable training with this horse. And sometimes that doesn't mean a lot with certain horses, but with a horse of his size and a horse that carries good weight, it means even more. So the fact that he's coming back on a shorter rest and he's had an uninterrupted training schedule, I don't think we've seen the best of Just Steel yet. I think there's a big step forward in him.
See if it comes. So much can change on this Triple Crown Trail. Obviously, he made a splash last year sprinting. I mean, he's very quick. 88 buyer at Saratoga in a maiden win. And off that, D. Wayne Lucas, who's never shy of taking shots, throw him into the hopeful off that performance. See if he can make an impact in that race. 13 will line up in the Rebel on the road to this year's Kentucky Derby next Saturday.
I really think that the prep races have been strong at Oaklawn. I think Mystic Dan was very good in the Smarty Jones. I'm sure we'll see him in the Arkansas Derby, but I think Just Steel's a major player.
Derby prep coming up right now from Sunland Park. Grade 3, mile and a 16th, purse of $400,000, 20 points to the winner of this race to get into that starting gate for this year's Derby. The 6-5 favorite, Stronghold, Phil D'Amato will get to. We start with No Trouble for Joel Marr.
Yeah, horse broke his maiden sprinting, and he's had speed sprinting, so you would think from the inside he'll be forward.
Surrounded by Angels, huge. Price was just third in the local prep for this race.
Yeah, very well beaten, though, in the Riley Allison Derby.
Curlin's Chaos, double-digit odds coming off a maiden win against State Bred Company.
And that was on the turf at Santa Anita.
The winner of that local prep, this horse here, Lucky Jeremy.
I think he's interesting because he's shown he's consistent and he stretched out very effectively over the racetrack.
Broke his maiden at Churchill, by the way, sprinting back as a 2-year-old. Stronghold, the favorite for Phil D'Amato, who was second 2 starts back to Niso, some regard as the best 3-year-old in the country.
Well, yeah, his company lines there's no denying that he's been running against some seriously talented young horses.
A lot of luck, won first time out, and then was runner-up to Lucky Jeremy in that Riley Allison Derby.
Another horse that should be forward. He's a horse that possesses speed, and he looks sharp here on the racetrack.
26-1, Durango, who was claimed 2 starts back for $7,500.
Yeah, went right to that Riley Allison Derby where he was well beaten. You got a horse that claimed for $7,500, taking a shot at a big purse.
And then graded stakes placed on the outside. Steve Asmussen, Joel Rosario with Informed Patriot. A brother to Spun to Run, Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner.
This is who I like. I just waxed poetic about Just Steel, and he was a neck off of him in the Smarty Jones. So I've got to stick with my convictions here, and my top selection is going to be the 8 Informed Patriot.
So that's where we are. Sunland Park, New Mexico, opened back in 1959. They run through April 3rd, and this is their premier day of the meet. Sunland Oaks and Derby Day with these points on the line to get into that first Friday and Saturday in May. Let's go to Jonathan for more.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to go towards the outside with Informed Patriot as well. The 8 horse for Steve Asmussen. Wolfie, you pointed out this horse is a full to Spun to Run, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner. Very fast horse. With Informed Patriot, he hasn't run since January 1st, so he comes in fresh here. To me, I mean, when you're chasing the Derby trail, sometimes you find yourself, coming back in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever it might be. And I feel like this horse is coming back with a little bit of a break. And I think that Steve Asmussen has identified what this horse is, right? The horse was at Oaklawn Park. He could have easily run him in the Rebel, could have easily run him in the Risen Star, right? Because he's got stables there. It's no issue to ship there and run there. But I think he's being just a little bit more realistic and deciding why put this horse in a tougher situation than we need to. Let's go to the Sunland Derby and run for $400,000. And look, I think that his price would be a little bit lower if Catching Freedom didn't run the way that he did yesterday. But a lot of people are going to see that in the running line, and it's going to upgrade Informed Patriot, and it should. I like the outside draw here. I love that Joel Rosario shows up here to ride for Steve Asmussen. Look, I don't think that when Joel gets a leg up at Saratoga, when Irad, Jose, Louis, Flavian, the rest of them, Manny, are all in the room. I don't think that Joel just lays over the competition. But look, I mean, I think that some of these smaller racetracks, having Joel Rosario is a huge edge, and that's why I'm going to go towards the outside with the 8 Informed Patriot.
And Jonathan brings up, who he faced last time out, was third to in that Smarty Jones, Catching Freedom, who, just was third in that Risen Star behind Sierra Leone and Track Phantom.
Yeah, listen, I think this horse has kept good company. One thing we, could see consistently with Steve Asmussen, too, he has horses that make a lot of money because he spots them well. And just what Jonathan was saying, you know what? I got a $400,000 race that I know I'm going to be very competitive in. Why want to bust my head against the wall against horses that are tougher, even if it's a bigger purse at Oaklawn, when the winning share of this is $240,000? You'll see consistently Steve have horses earn $500,000, over $1 million, just spotting them well in races around the country.
His main competition in this race looks like it is this California shipper for Phil D'Amato, Stronghold, who will be making his 3-year-old debut. And this was probably his best moment. This low Sal Futurity took the lead in the stretch, going a mile and 16th for the first time. It just came up short to Winstock.
Yeah, I mean, he ran a winning effort. He got, run down, but he did everything right. He just didn't quite finish the deal. Now, do you want to question maybe was he didn't quite stay the distance and that's what cost him late? Because he loomed up like he had to get it done, and then he just gets picked off late.
Do you give him a little bit of credit, at least for holding off the third-place finisher?
Listen, I think it was a really nice effort. I mean, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate that, to me, it didn't look like he stayed on quite as well. He's obviously the horse to beat. I just prefer Informed Patriot. I think his company lines have been strong. Obviously, Nysos beat this horse nearly 9 lengths in the Bob Hope, but that might be a generational kind of talent.
Yeah. Phil D'Amato, we mentioned, had his first ever Sunland Park starter back in the Oaks in the 7th race, Simply Enchanting. This horse a little more seasoned than Simply Enchanting, who was not really a factor in that race. This horse, now 4 starts under the belt, has never been worse than second, and at least has gone a mile and a 16th. And I know didn't seal the deal, but showed ability.
No, he's shown ability. Listen, Simply Enchanting's a completely different story. She had 1 6-furlong race where she won, and then has to stretch out to a 2-turn mile against winners. That's a big ask. This horse has already been much more seasoned. He's already gone the 2 turns. He's already faced tough company. He's going to be tough. Like I said, I just prefer the outside horse.
What about, I'll say the local horse, but a horse who actually, first couple of starts, they came at Churchill Downs, including a win. It was a restricted maiden special weight win, but one on the track where the Derby will be this year. Comes here, wins the prep for this race, that Riley Allison Derby, and to give the horse a little bit of credit, not only for winning his 3-year-old debut coming back, but having a win over this surface.
I give him a lot of credit, and I like the fact that he was able to stalk just off the pace coming out of sprints where he was on the lead in the slop at Churchill when he broke his maiden. I'm a big Bill Morey fan, the trainer. This is a guy that consistently wins. He won at 25% last year. We had him here in New York for a little while. He's not based, he doesn't have horses based here anymore. I do hope we see him again because he is a terrific horseman who knows how to get it done. And obviously, they pointed to this by getting the race over the track.
And then you have a horse who was runner-up in that spot, the 6, A Lot of Luck. He wins first time out sprinting at a different racetrack at Zia. And then they throw him into that Riley Allison. Asking a lot, just your second start of your career, stretching out to a mile, stakes company, and a horse that looks like potentially certainly going to be one of the speeds, if not the speed.
Well, that's it. How much company is he going to get, particularly from the inside? Now, a horse that I wouldn't put as a win candidate. He's 33-1, no trouble, but he has shown speed sprinting. And those horses usually have a say in the outcome, particularly when you're breaking from the inside. There's more urgency from a rider to get your position going forward. But if you can make a case for Lucky Jeremy, which I can, then how can you discount A Lot of Luck, the Calbred? You can't.
We saw Joel Rosario, win that Oaks prep earlier. Helps, too, when, obviously he's an elite rider, one of the best in the game, and probably on the best horse in the race. That had a lot to do with it. How much prep, though, did you have to do going to a track that you'd never been at before?
Well, you got to pay attention. You want to get in that jockey's room early. You want to watch the races. You want to see how the racetrack's playing. You want to feel as comfortable and familiar with surroundings in a short period of time as you can. I mean, and it sounds silly, but even the routine of things. Every racetrack's a little bit different. What time they call for check for the race, meaning when you have to weigh in with your saddle and your equipment, what time you leave the room to go to the paddock, what the path is from the jockey's room to the paddock. So, like, for me, it was always imperative that I get there as early as I could and immerse myself in the place.
Rosario, he'll be on Informed Patriot here, vying for favoritism actually at 8-5 after that win on Recharge in the Oaks for the Asmussen Barn and Winchell Thoroughbreds. This time teaming up again with the winningest trainer in North American history and the owners who brought you Jackie's Warrior, Kirk and Jody Robeson. It's those two, Informed Patriot, the 8, the 5, Stronghold, taking the majority of the money in this spot. And then your Riley Allison Derby winner. Lucky Jeremy, the 4, not too far behind as the third choice on the board. 20 points to the winner to get into the starting gate for this year's Kentucky Derby. Grade 3, Sunland Park Derby. Let's go to Eric Allwin for the call.
There's 2 back. Lucky Jeremy, winner of the Riley Allison Derby, and Informed Patriot for trainer Steve Asmussen. And local owners, Kirk and Judy Robeson. Lucky Jeremy winning well. last to load, Informed Patriot. And they're all set. And there they go in the Sunland Derby. It's a pretty good start for all but Durango. Getting away alertly, Lucky Jeremy ambling along with a mile to go. Leads an Eck from Stronghold, who's going to pressurize them. In the 3-path is a lot of luck as they move into that first turn. Breaking a bit there. In fourth, surrounded by Angels, was lacking Racing Room. Curlin's Chaos is part of that jumble. Then we go back a half to Informed Patriot, then 2 more to both Durango and No Trouble. So really not all that much pace in this year's Sunland Derby so far. It's Lucky Jeremy leading them into the backstretch, and Stronghold can wait no longer. That one trying to push on by. Still in third, a lot of luck, has a great chance. Under a hold in fourth is Informed Patriot. Beginning to surge somewhat is Curlin's Chaos. With 2 beaten, that's Durango, and those 2 trailers are surrounded by Angels and No Trouble. Still no real change in position in the Sunland Derby with a half-mile to travel. Lucky Jeremy trying to get away from Stronghold, but these 2 are inseparable at the moment. Chasing them in third, Curlin's Chaos. As we now see another move from a lot of luck with about 5/16 of a mile to travel, going toe-to-toe in the Sunland Derby. Stronghold now leads. Stronghold trying to pull away by about a length. Lucky Jeremy will have to find more. Then back into third, a lot of luck. They're straightening away now. Can Stronghold finish the deal? He's in front by about a length, getting out of bed, but he's well clear. Stronghold showing class now in the Sunland Derby, and he leads. Lucky Jeremy trying but not catching. It's going to be Stronghold to deliver. He's our Sunland Derby champion by 2 lengths. Lucky Jeremy and a lot of luck are in a photo for second. Fourth, Curlin's Chaos.
Stronghold, Phil D'Amato, 3-year-old debut, veering out a bit in the stretch. Does not matter. Gets the win in the Sunland Park Derby.
Yeah, it was good. Resolute. He did kind of wander once he hit the front. And once his rider really set him down, got his attention, he kind of straightened out, panned out, and went on. Nice effort from Lucky Jeremy. He held off number 6. A lot of luck. They kind of same result as the Riley Allison Derby, the prep for this, where, you know, Lucky Jeremy won and he was second. This time they were second and third. No real excuses for Informed Patriot. I mean, kind of towed Joel up in behind horses. Looked like he was poised to make a run, and he just flattened out. But nice effort from Stronghold, making his 3-year-old debut for Phil D'Amato.
Son of Ghost Sapper with the victory here. And I guess things to build on, because clearly it's still a little green here in the stretch.
Yeah, it looked like he just lost focus a bit, right? He hit the front and just kind of got to wandering. But once he gets set down, he kind of regained his composure or his focus and went on. And listen, I think this is a real nice effort, particularly coming off the bench, making your 3-year-old debut. And he picked up $240,000, and he picked up some points, too.
Yeah, 20 points to get into that starting gate for the Derby. We'll see if you would think that will be the path. Why not move forward and see what this horse can do if there is improvement in him? Next test, obviously, it's going to be a lot tougher.
We talk about it a lot, you know, young horses changing, developing over time. You can go back to Charismatic, who ran for a claiming tag for Wayne Lucas, but then got to Kentucky and just blossomed through the month of April, wound up winning the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. They're young horses. I liken them to kids starting high school. The best athlete starting high school, not always the best athlete coming out of high school.
We get a chance to ask you about it. Saturday, Fairgrounds, Sierra Leone, that performance from him. I know it was a wet track. Came from far out of it to win. Did he impress you?
Oh, he very impressive. To come from off the pace in those conditions, he rallied. Now, you know, we got to see it again maybe on a fast track, but by all reports, he's been training up a storm on a fast racetrack, so maybe he just did that because he's good.
That was just the 3rd start of his career, too. We were back tomorrow, President's Day, with coverage beginning at 3 Eastern. Check your local listings. We'll see you then on Fox Sports 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, back tomorrow. It was my main squeeze in the Maddie May, 3 straight stakes wins, and maybe she is going to get a test on the road to the Kentucky Oaks for these connections. Recharge, Joel Rosario putting this filly on the front end. Had to fight for it, but able to pull it out in the Sunland Park Oaks to get some points to get into the starting gate for this year's Kentucky Oaks. And Stronghold, 3-year-old debut for Phil D'Amato in the Sunland Park Derby.
War Dancer, New York's leading turf sire again in 2023 with standouts like Barrage at Saratoga.
Here's Barrage with a final surge. Barrage got him.
Warsaichi dominant on the dirt at Finger Lakes.
Warsaichi has scampered well clear. Warsaichi all the way with the top spot.
And Danzig Queen on the tap of the surface at